We'll call this meeting to order, the November 27th Planning Commission member meeting. Let's stand. We'll pledge allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen. Okay. We'll start with the minutes of our October 30th meeting. Hopefully everyone has looked over those. I'll entertain a
motion to approve the minutes for October 30th of 2023.
All right.
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded to approve the minutes from October the 30th. Okay, all those in favor, let me know by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, and it's all positive.
I think we have to register me as abstaining due to my absence,
Okay, yep.
if you would. Got it.
Okay. All right. Let me ask this, in terms of those minutes and what we went over in the October 30th meeting, anything come to mind? Any comments you wanted to make? Anything that you felt was significant in terms of the deliberations of the Planning Commission? Okay, so we're about to get into the thick of the update of the master plan. So it's everything really counts. All right. Then next we'll ask for any citizen comments for any items that are not on the agenda this evening. Anybody wish to step forward and have anything you'd like to say? All right, this is moving along very smoothly tonight. Then we'll hear from our county planners. And as always, we'll ask if there's anything especially pertinent to our greater Mount Airy area in terms of what y'all are working on at the county level. We really would appreciate you mentioning it to us, calling our attention to it.
Hope everybody had a happy Thanksgiving. Just some updates from Carroll County. The Board of County Commissioners recently approved an RFP contract to kick off our housing study. The municipalities will be receiving some information that the company consultant is requesting to start that process. But yeah, the municipalities are going to be very integral into the housing study because that's where pretty much all of the housing is in Carroll County. Next, we have the economic development study. This was brought to our planning commission in mid-November. It will be brought to them again this Wednesday at their night meeting, and then to the county commissioners on December 21st. This is available on our website if anybody is interested to view it. And then lastly, the transportation master plan. This was brought to planning commission and they approved it. It is going to be brought to our county commissioners, I believe, and we will be sending a draft back to the towns for final comments. And that's it for me.
Okay, big picture, what are the priorities that as a planning team, and the Carroll County team that is, what are the top 3 or 4 priorities in terms of what y'all are focused on?
Right now, definitely, I mean, as we all know, the housing crisis. So this housing study is going to be really huge in our master plan. I would say the master plan as a whole is really our focus right now. We are in the process of hiring a deputy director of planning. And once that person is hired, we're hoping for the new year by January. That's when we'll really start to kick off actual like public meetings and getting feedback from the community. But these studies, like the housing study, the transportation master plan, and the economic development study, those are just the foundations that will help us build our master plan. I would say that is the main initiative that we have going on right now.
Right, and what's the period of time that this master plan update will encompass?
We're hoping to have it done by 2025.
Okay. So is this a 1923 to 33 or 25 to 35 master plan timeframe that you're looking at?
It just depends on how much we're able to get done. And yeah, don't really want to set a hard date on it, but we're aiming for 2025 for completion and adoption.
So it's similar in terms of timeframe to this. Okay. Any feedback or questions? Anybody else? All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Good evening.
Good evening, Planning Commission. One of the first things it's one of the bigger items that we're working on right now is the South Frederick Corridors Plan. It was finally recommended to the county council. That's one of the projects that we're working on, I think concurrently, is trying to work on implementation of that project, or that process really, which is going to involve some sort of form-based code or some sort of way to get more mixed-use development. And then other projects that are sort of in the pipeline along with that are in the works. We have an economic opportunity plan that we're sort of starting right now. We'll be working on a green infrastructure plan next year, and also the housing element, and we're also working on a triennial update for our water and sewer. So we kind of have a bunch of projects that are sort of all in the mix, and we're just kind of getting rid of and finishing the Sugarloaf plan and the South Frederick Corridors kind of original plan. But that's sort of our short to midterm pipeline for projects.
Justin, one of the concerns that we here in Mount Airy have is the amount of development that you see coming over the next 5, 10, 15 years in the southeast quadrant of Frederick County, because that's the county, that's the portion that's adjacent to Mount Airy. And in the past several years, I guess over the last 10, 15, as long as I've been on the Planning Commission, we've had an impact, a distinct impact from the amount of construction, the amount of growth in that area. What do you foresee going forward in terms of that area and the comparable growth?
We're unfortunately sort of stuck with what previous commissioners have set us up with these developers agreements, and that's sort of what you see in the Ligonor area. But most of the intended growth is Frederick City, whether it's the East Street area where they're doing their form-based code, the green or the Golden Mile on the other side of the city, and really the South Frederick corridors. The South Frederick corridors alone is anticipated to have, I think it's 10,000 dwelling units. So that's hopefully will direct where most of our growth is going. And I know down the road, there is also some sort of idea of doing some a Urbana and 270 transit-oriented development plan, but that's sort of 2025, 2026 idea of when that would possibly start. But those are really the areas that we're anticipating where most of the development will occur. And that's outside of what, municipal governments are deciding to do for their own growth. But from the county's perspective, we also do support, the redevelopment of the municipalities as well, too. That's part of our strategy of the Livable Frederick Master Plan.
Appreciate that. Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, quick question. Justin, and I'm going to set it up and tell me if the setup is erroneous. I believe a month or maybe 2 months ago, Frederick County commissioners placed all mixed-use permits on a hiatus. They froze any further building in that particular zoning district to study it, and the tone was that the results of building mixed-use districts didn't meet their initial expectations or goals. So first off, did I cast that right?
From my understanding, I think that is correct, and a lot of the issues too is with school capacity as well, and
Okay.
so I'm not 100% sure of what the exact status is, but I know that they are reviewing the whole process.
Okay.
And they are anticipating redoing or looking at that, the mixed-use districts. I think there's going to be a discussion in December, maybe, at the Planning Commission of,
Okay.
what they're going to do. I know a lot of the focus is on our form-based code, but any sort of development too, I think there is a hiatus while we are working on, or there's a, it's on pause when we look at
Right.
and any sort of area plans.
And just what I'm building toward, just to kind of keep it in mind when you think of things that you can bring before us here, and that is, I'm always kind of a lessons learned guy. And so if there are lessons learned from Frederick County's endeavors into mixed use, please, harvest whatever conclusions they reach, whatever those are. I'm going to call them shortcomings or missing expectations or whatever you want to say. Whatever they result in, whatever caused them to even initiate it I think would be of interest to us, because obviously we have that district within our jurisdiction. So
Yep.
thanks for that. Okay.
All right, cool.
Then I've also attached a map. It's just one of the items that was addressed at our planning commission is the expansion of the Ligonor priority funding area. The purpose was to reflect zoning and water and sewer service classifications. The growth areas didn't match the PFAA boundary, and the expansion added Gordon Mill, West Ridge, Woodridge developments. The planning commission recommended the expansion to the council. So just really the boundaries weren't matched up with what the county's growth area and what was originally in the PFA boundary with the state. So it was just kind of a paper thing that they were adjusting. The other item that I have is we're finally at a spot with our interactive pipeline map that it was shareable. The location is on our data and mapping page. You can just Google data and mapping in Frederick County, it should show up. The map is still a work in progress. The city of Frederick data isn't accurate, and we hope to have an update from Frederick City in January. And the last thing I have is Cherry Run. It's also known as the Casey property. It's expected to be on the December agenda for the sketch plan approval. And the developer's website is www.caseycherryrun.com. So they had a workshop a few months back and just had a couple of boards up showing stormwater and sort of what they expected the site plan to look like. So that is up there. I know that they're looking for feedback. Just thought I would provide that, and it is expected to that it'll be this month or next month. But
Okay.
that's all I have.
Anybody have anything else for Justin?
I do.
Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
Oh, sure.
So Cherry Run, is that located on this map? The Lake Lincoln, is that Cherry Run inside of that? I don't see it on here. I was just asking.
It's probably not the best map to point it out on this one, but I know it's like to the right of Gordon Mill.
Okay. Gordon Mill.
Over here.
So next to the red outline next to Gordon Mill on the right.
And there is, if you look on their website too, there is a future connection from Gordon Mill into that project, and I think it's just on the other side of the road, or up top of Gordon Mill. But
You mentioned something about, are we done? Does everyone know where Cherry Run is?
Yeah,
Okay.
thank
You
you.
mentioned something about the green infrastructure that you guys are discussing? Is that what I heard you say in the beginning?
That is one of our plans that we're looking at countywide. It's part of our master plan area, and a lot of it is connecting hubs and spokes and just kind of connections towards wildlife, so wildlife can be connected and migrate through the area. And a lot of it is really the mountains on the west side of the county, and then trying to connect it to the other side. But there is some sort of diagram in our master plan, and I don't really know all the details on that, but that is just something that we're working on. I think in the middle of next year, we'll be starting that process.
Oh, okay. So it doesn't actually, it doesn't include like widening roads or charging stations for electric cars or any kind of
No,
stuff?
it just,
Just wildlife trails?
yes.
Okay.
Okay. That was my question.
Okay.
Thanks, Brian.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Justin? We thank you, sir. Okay. All right, our next item is the introduction, discussion of a new Comcast building. John, did you have any?
Sure.
Introduction.
We can ask the applicants to come up to the desk, please. So I wanted to, the applicant submitted a building permit for this expansion of this parcel. And because of it being an existing, excuse me one second, get this thing open. So currently, there's an existing operation on the site. With the amount of disturbance that's being proposed for this parcel, I feel like it would be in a simplified site plan process. We currently don't have that process in the town. Hence, that's why they submitted a building permit. And I wanted to bring it to you guys for some clarity to make sure you guys were okay with me allowing it to move through the permitting process, but with some modifications to the site. And I do have some pictures of the site and, of course, the site plan. So let me turn those on so you can kind of see those. Again, it is I guess it's, I'm not really sure. I should let the applicant explain what the actual use is there. I mean, I guess it's a transfer station of some sort for Comcast.
It's a roughly 200 square foot stick frame building that houses communications equipment. Sounds very small, 200 square feet, and as you can see, it's very small, but the entire internet fits in that building.
So it needs to be bigger than.
Exactly my point.
That's the problem.
Can't have 10G in that.
The infrastructure that is broadband today is based on RF. But the infrastructure of the future, of the near future, is digital. It's all IP-based, fiber optic linked, and it improves speeds, it improves connectivity, it provides services to more people. And the RF systems have been in the air and in the ground for 30 years. And so, you have the choice of replacing an outdated technology at great expense or upgrading it to a new technology that works a lot better and is more reliable at great expense. So,
Sir, can you pull the mic towards your mouth? And also just introduce yourself and who you're with. Just,
My name
you
is
can-
Joe
You can
Berger.
pull it towards you,
Yeah, Joe, pull the mic.
just so it's directed towards your mouth, if you don't mind.
my name is Joe Berger. I am a critical infrastructure engineer for Comcast. This is right in the center of my territory. It goes all the way from the Panhandle to past Baltimore, Pennsylvania into Virginia. This is Bill Crawford. He's a builder with KBB Builders. He's one of the contractors that we use a lot.
Okay, cool.
So I will show some additional pictures here. This is looking east from the parking lot where the Papa John's is, or towards the west side of the Papa John's property. Again, this is looking to the west. You can see currently the structure that's existing is in the background. You can also see that there's a generator that's part of the parcel, and some existing concrete foundations from the previously installed water tower that used to be located here. Again, so moving on, we'll go to the next picture. Does it let me go to the next picture? This is looking north. Again, you can see the standalone generator and existing building with the mismatched roof, et cetera. The new addition will be kind of towards the east side of the building here,
Oh, okay, yeah.
and about the same height. And again, in your plan, you should see a plan view that was off on the lower left-hand side, showing you the outline of the new building. And the plan itself shows the outline gray and black outline of the building for the new construction. Again, this is looking directly south from the Papa John's parking lot. You can barely even tell where the building is except for the black outline that's behind here.
Yeah.
And then again, this is looking east, west.
I didn't realize it was in that location. I was on the other side of the street and down on the other side of the
That's actually a
intersection.
CXX building. That's gray building there. That's actually for the tunnel, for their infrastructure, for the Comcast, not the Comcast, but the railroad tunnel. CSX, excuse me.
Okay.
So you're trying to upgrade from coax essentially to fiber?
Correct.
Okay, gotcha.
And again, so one of the reasons why I brought it to you, this will go through the permitting process at Carroll County, and all those agencies will review that building permit as they sign off on it. The amount of disturbance that's part of this project is so minimal. Again, if they were to come in and want to put it on one huge building that was going to take up the majority of the parcel, then I would make them go through the complete site plan approval process, because it could impact stormwater management, a bunch of other things. But I feel like, with such a small project, that to run it through a full process that could take upwards to a year to get approval, it feels like, that it seems like this is a possible candidate for the simplified site plan. And this is actually something I'm striving for this coming year, to actually make that part of an option in our code for the simplified site plan process, to be approved at the administrative level, which it wouldn't have to come to you if it was under a certain square footage, et cetera. So, but I just wanted to get your thoughts. And again, if you look at the recommendations in the rear, I really am concerned about the visibility of this. We do have a parcel to the south that's coming in for Board of Appeals approvals, which potentially would remove a lot of the vegetation that's sort of blocking this parcel as it is. So I'm sort of trying to prep for that site plan coming in, so that this doesn't become this ugly duckling as it would be.
The existing building, the existing structure, does it remain?
Yes.
And this gets added to it,
Yes, that's
somewhat
correct.
at a right angle
Yes.
to it? Okay.
Okay, so you're not demoing the whole building?
No.
You're going to add an extension to it, and then, that's what I was wondering, because how can you
Yeah.
disconnect all that if
Yeah.
that's the hub for, yeah.
We have to build before we can remove.
And that's the problem, yeah. You have to have the space to build
Yeah.
your new network.
Right.
And then, basically, the other building won't have much
And
left
then
in it.
flip the switch on the new one.
Yeah.
So that there's no problems.
Yeah, and a
Of
lot
course,
less
yeah.
power and everything else.
Okay.
So again, I'm sorry, Kim.
No, go ahead.
I was going to say, the only thing that they're removing at this time, of course, would be the entrance to the existing building and any of this canopy. And along with that, they would be removing this one concrete foundation that was part of the water tower, because the new building will be approximately located right here.
Are they also removing what's that other structure?
This here?
That concrete in the
This,
front?
again, this is the concrete foundation. This is the concrete foundation. They aren't removing this concrete foundation currently.
Okay.
Just the one, if you look at your plan, you'll see that there are 4 large concrete foundations.
Yeah.
That's the only one in the way.
This one will be getting removed.
Now,
You said
the-
that, I'm sorry, what
Go
did
ahead.
you say that was?
It's an old concrete foundation for the water tower that used to be located here. So the municipal tower, I'm not sure, Barney, if you know, was it not municipal?
It was not.
Okay, so I'm not sure what the water tower is for. It was probably, what's that?
Probably goes 8 feet in the ground.
I don't know. Oh, you're saying that concrete pillar, yeah.
Pillar goes
Yeah,
at
yeah,
least
yeah.
8 feet in the ground.
Right, right. There's 4 feet or 6 feet above ground here, and it's 8 feet in ground.
Wow.
So,
So they just built that, I guess the cable company that installed the infrastructure for the town started with that building there? Well, Comcast didn't own it years ago. It was put
Right.
in by somebody else. Comcast just picked them up.
Right.
Yeah.
The idea was possibly that everything was broadcast over antennas and everything else, that they were on top of the water tower, and that the previous broadband company, right, put that little building there. It's really, it looks a little bit bigger in the pictures. It's really teeny tiny.
Is it?
It's very small. It's like a shed you might have in your backyard, pretty much.
Oh, okay.
You need to get rid of the other building eventually, or it's just going to be empty? Empty, okay.
It will never be empty. All the fiber comes in there.
Okay.
So- And that's extremely difficult to move.
Oh, okay.
That will stay pretty much forever.
So you need both
The actual
structures?
equipment in the racks will change out, and then over time, equipment refresh and new technologies will backfill that space.
Okay.
But this addition, I think, would put us in good shape for the foreseeable future, which could be decades
30 years, maybe.
possible. The technology changes every 2 years, so we try not to plan too far down the road.
Right. Are you going to make sure that building matches the new facade? Are you fixing the outside of the facade of the old building to match the new facade of the new building?
Identical.
Okay,
And-
perfect.
And the two colored roofs going away. It'll all be one
Darn it.
consistent roof.
Make sure that they were
I
gonna-
didn't do that. I worked for
You're gonna make
Comcast
it
for a long
pretty.
time. I didn't do it.
Both buildings should be equal in architectural finishes.
Okay.
And that was one of my recommendations.
So back in the day, there was a water tower here?
That's my understanding.
Okay, what was the time frame of the water tower, Barney?
It was here when I started working here 19 years ago.
Okay.
I think it was owned by a landscape company that was in that area. I know there were some antennas on it when I started here.
Yeah, we've been here 20 years, and I just didn't remember it.
It was really needing painting.
It was
Painted,
rusty.
and it was very rusty. We basically told them, you need to do something, either repaint it or take it down. They decided to take it down.
Okay, all right.
Carl's telling me it was actually for the Ridgeville Nursery, possibly.
Oh,
That was used to be on the other side of 144, is what he's telling me,
From the 50s.
from the 50s,
Early 70s.
oh, wow,
which,
going back a ways.
yeah.
Mr.
All
Chairman?
right, yes.
Just to John, we've advised all the adjoining residents, because there are residents currently about 150 feet or so behind it on the south side.
Yes, they were notified by,
They've been notified,
yep.
right?
And again, the property's been signed for over a week.
Correct.
As well.
And is there any interaction between the town and the businesses, such as Greg's Driving School, Papa John's, right there adjacent to that parking lot?
The owner of that property would have gotten a notification. I didn't reach out to those businesses in particular.
Gotcha, the owner would, right.
But the owner of the parcel would have.
I follow you.
Yeah, so
Gotcha.
I didn't send it to all the businesses because it really doesn't impact them too
Right.
much visually. I mean, currently, the evergreens that are currently there, you can't even barely see it from their parking lot, except for,
And to that, Bill, during the construction phase, any taking away of the parking spaces that we saw adjacent to the site, none of that is
None of that.
impacted?
None of that.
Sounds-
They might pull into it and, and
Right.
unload something
Right.
onto it. But we have plenty of room on that site to put anything and everything.
Gotcha.
We're pouring concrete. They might back in there, but it may actually be more convenient to come up a little bit on the curb and pour concrete from there.
Right.
I'm with you. And last two quick items, Bill, as far as screening and lighting. And so with regard to screening, because of the future developments and because there is a resident back there, albeit that they probably only see the building in the wintertime when all the foliage is gone. But given the future, and I think the screening from my personal standpoint on the north side with the arborvitae is pretty robust. I don't think you're going to affect that at all. You're going to probably want to make sure you don't affect it because it's solid screening. But as far as the fence in general, putting in a fence or adding to the fence or modifying the fence such that we can screen and make it a solid, if I could use the words opaque, but block the side of the building from the residents to the south and any viewing from the east or west sides. In your plans, yes or no?
We're definitely open for discussion about it and whatever you guys think is best. Now, there was also brought up, put the green slats in the fence.
Right.
Still looks like a chain link fence to me. You know, I mean, I'm not, trying to,
This is two different versions. There's
Oh, you're
also,
talking about that. Okay.
that's what I was talking
Okay,
about.
I thought you were talking about the.
I don't really like that. I don't really like that. I mean, that's what we have on our dumpsters around here. It still looks like a chain link fence. This looks more, in my opinion, it blends better with the other foliage, And I'm not even sure, the hedge link is much better than the perma hedge. I think it's a progression. Perma hedge was one of the first manufacturers that came out with this.
Right.
Then this hedge link was a second, or another one. And then here's another one called fake hedge slats.
Yep.
And again, they can go full height. I'm not looking to have the razor wire at the top covered.
No.
But I think the vertical fencing everywhere should have some form of opaque
Yeah, semi-open.
screening.
It's an
Again,
important building.
what's that?
I mean, it's a pretty important building to.
Yeah, I would think we want
Want
to,
to hide that building
You wanna-
and
yeah.
keep prying eyes away from it.
Yes.
Especially now it's going to have all this new equipment inside of
Yeah,
it.
no, I agree.
So I feel like this is
Into the background.
a choice.
So fair that you can work with the zoning administrator with regard to modifying the fence to.
Absolutely.
I got it. And then the last point, lighting.
Thank you.
When I walked around, it looked like there was a permanent light at that entrance on that east side. Talk to us about what lighting would exist after it's completing. Would it be motion activated only? And, okay, so it wouldn't be on, it would just be activated if someone gets inside the fence line?
Yeah, and that's mainly for Comcast personnel safety.
Sure, sure.
If somebody goes up,
Absolutely.
somebody goes up to that gate to get in there, it's going off. Or somebody's 2 or 3 feet away from that gate, it's going off.
Makes sense.
Because it's not a manned site,
Yeah.
Right.
but when there's an emergency, they got to get in there and get in there quick. And, we don't want them flashlights and everything else to have to try and punch their way. And Carroll County, that's one of the, they approved our building permit, but it's one of the notes he gave me. You probably got that too, that he definitely wants a light at that front.
Yeah, I haven't seen that correspondence yet, but that's okay.
But there's no need for a photometric plan because, a lighting illumination plan, because there is no intent to put up say, a streetlight pole.
Yeah, there's no dusk to dawn lighting.
Gotcha.
It's task lighting.
Yeah, that's all it is. It's, the building's, it's got a little fire, alarm system and everything else. So if somebody tries to get in there, the police will be there very quickly.
Okay.
Yeah. And will you have security cameras around it as well? or-
There are
cameras.
security
There are-
cameras.
okay.
Yes. I think you can see one right there on the
Oh, yeah,
corner
yeah,
to the
okay.
left.
Here?
Right down, you're right there, right there.
Okay.
No, that's a GPS on top of on the roof there.
Okay.
And my only other question is, there's no possibility of a future antenna site going here or some kind of microwave receiving tower of any kind?
The little antenna you see on the top of the
That's
building
it.
is as big as they get
There you
these
go.
days.
Oh, wow.
And, we'll work with you on the screening for it. Joe had mentioned that, he would rather put the arborvitaes there. But we'd really have to get out there and see where our markers are.
That's
Make
my only
sure that
concern.
We're not gonna go, in a year, go that far over the property line.
Correct.
You got buried cable in that area, so.
There is. That is something we're very, very careful about. Comcast engineers, we don't just do miss utility on that. Comcast engineers come in and they put a tracer on it and they tell us exactly where it is and how deep it is.
Correct.
Because we cut that thing, I won't be working for them anymore. So.
Not for long.
Well, and to that point, I guess, I'm not opposed to, I just want to provide some kind of screening, and I prefer to see some type of arborvitae, but I worry about looking at the site plan and your property lines and where the current fence is. Maybe the fence needs to be modified and changed and reduced some to allow you to have more room for plantings. And again, I'm not sure, would you ever be removing this, this tree here if you're going to put additional arborvitae in? Or I'm not sure exactly where that in relationship to the gate is.
We don't have any plans for tree removal.
Okay. Really doesn't, there's no real clear picture on that. but-
Excellent.
I really like your suggestion, John.
Yeah, I like that fencing
Yeah.
coverage.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah.
It's really a great idea.
yeah.
Too, with the cedar that are, or the,
Yeah,
those trees that are there now, that don't shed, that still
Yeah,
give us
those
full
are
coverage.
evergreens?
Yeah, they're evergreens.
Right.
okay, excellent.
We're not opposed to both either, you
Right.
know? I think both would be the best case scenario. I mean, getting some type of fake evergreen in there plus some additional arborvitae's, hey, that sounds even better to me.
No, I think that's a good plan.
Yeah,
Right.
we have zero problem doing either one of those things,
Yes.
or both.
I think both would be the preferred, but I didn't want to hit you too hard, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean,
But
I
we
think,
sincerely appreciate how open you are
Thank you.
to our suggestions and amenable you are.
And I'm a little
We
smarter.
like to be a good neighbor.
Yeah.
Being in here, figuring this out. Tech question for you. So with the new equipment you're putting in there, do you need to cool it or chill it like it's like a server area or something
Yes.
like that? So it will be technically server,
Yes.
kind of like that?
Yeah.
Okay.
The communications equipment puts out a fairly significant heat load. It
Okay.
has to be.
this is an air conditioning unit right here. See this big brown box here?
Okay.
That whole thing is like what you'd see on the end of a portable school, you know, it's a huge,
Gotcha.
huge refrigeration unit.
And that will be relocated.
I would have said,
Is it going on the front wall or is it going on this
Comes all
back
the way
wall?
around to the near end from where the picture's being taken.
so right here on
Yep,
this
right in
end.
there, it'll be there.
Yeah.
But to Brian's point, there's no additional water needed for chilling, right? It's
No.
just, okay.
Well, it's
There's
all,
no-
it's all
there's no
free
water
on,
to the
right?
site.
Okay, just want to make sure it's just electric and
It's
not like.
refrigerant.
Yeah,
Yeah, refrigerant.
okay.
I've got to go up there and walk
May
around.
I ask one question?
Sure.
Regarding the refrigerant, is it just standard industry refrigerant? Like
Yes, it's a-
R401?
It's 410A.
410, okay. Thank you.
Sure.
All right, is there any other questions or any other input? Okay. Is there a motion?
Mr. Chairman, I would make a motion. I make the motion to allow the simple site plan Comcast South Main building permit to move forward with the following conditions. The new building does not exceed the height of the current building, and all exterior architectural finishes match the existing building. Secondly, the existing fencing shall be modified or replaced to provide additional solid screening. And lastly, any exterior lighting after completion must be motion activated. And I can send this to Deborah for the minutes.
Fine. The only thing I would say is to include the additional arborvitae would be the only addition to that.
I'll amend it. The second item, existing fencing shall be modified or replaced to provide additional solid screening or, and with additional arborvitae
Landscaping,
planting. Yeah.
evergreens, right?
So basically, options are, the outcome being solid screening.
Right, plus the additional landscaping, I think could be,
Okay.
that's perfect.
Do that?
Okay, that works?
Yes, it does.
All right. Is there a second to?
I'll second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to move forward with the proposal that Ralph has outlined. All those in favor, let it be known by saying aye.
Aye.
All opposed? All right. Gentlemen, again, thank you.
Yes,
for
thank you
being so
both.
amenable.
Thank you very much.
You've already sent me information, right, so.
Oh, by the way, Joe, what's the timeline for that completion and the new infrastructure to be in?
We just did one in Thurmont, and they
Bounce
had it
back?
under roof, from start to under roof in less than a month.
Yeah, call me or email
Oh.
me,
So it goes pretty fast.
and then we'll work through that.
great.
Building permit process.
I
Thank you.
get those speeds I'm paying for then.
Thank
All right, gentlemen. Okay.
One thing I would like to mention, Bill, so.
Yeah.
Of course, we want to try to be out of here by 10:30, hopefully.
Yep.
So we do have the elections at the end, so once we start working through the master plan, I think if we hit a 10 o'clock spot, we should probably stop, so we can go through the remaining items and still do the elections and get out of here by 10:30.
Well, we're making good progress.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then we'll move to item 6, introduction and discussion of the 2023 Master Plan Chapter. Okay. What's that? Sure. Absolutely. Okay. Can you keep it at 3 minutes or less?
I can do that, 3 minutes.
Okay.
All right, good evening. Thank you. I'm Councilmember Stephen Demoter. And when I ran for town council, I pledged to the citizens my dedication to their vision for the future of our town, and that I would work to ensure their vision is reflected in the updated master plan, which is now underway. And so tonight, I wanted to make some comments for the record, and I have them in written form as well, which I'll offer. And so my first is a key recommendation. And that recommendation is that the town of Mount Airy's 2023 master plan should be driven by and demonstrate a vision-focused approach to master planning. A policy vision-focused approach should be based upon our citizens' wishes and ensure sustainability of their most valued quality of life attributes for the future of Mount Airy, as expressed by our citizens in response to town growth and development community surveys. For it is these town surveys that are the principal guiding light for our master planning process. Now, clearly, there are many lenses of information available to us for getting citizens' views. So we have the downtown vision plan, we have public comment processes, we have other forums. But I think there's no doubt that these growth and development community surveys, which were officially commissioned by the town of Mount Airy, are demonstrably relevant as a key source of information to guide the planning process. And indeed, the town has put out official communications on that. Shortly after the 2020 community survey, they posted on the website, town survey results are in. It is important for all commission members and town leadership to read and use the survey results when making recommendations and decisions for the town and the community we serve. Then there was another communication when the master planning process first started, posted, that says the 2023 master plan is underway and your input from the town survey will be used to create it. When the town survey was sent out, it contained a sentence in the introduction, and it said, "The town of Mount Airy citizens are the most important stakeholders in shaping the future of our community. Unfortunately, some politicians have too often ignored the full wishes of the citizens expressed through these surveys. They have denigrated the 2020 survey and past surveys in 2007 and the individuals who promote them, and instead sometimes pursued their own wishes and priorities, counter to the wishes and visions expressed by the citizens." So as an example, through the 2020 survey and 2007 survey, citizens consistently expressed their strong sentiment to limiting residential growth and their opposition to high-density growth. Yet these and other wishes appear to be sometimes ignored. If not so, why then do we have a mixed-use development ordinance embracing and promoting this aspect of growth? And why were certain properties zoned for high density and for mixed use? And so just something to think about, our current state. We are where we are. We have various development plans that have either been approved or we're going through a process to approve them. How did we get to where we are today? And would some of these development plans be at the scale they are today had we simply listened to the wishes of the citizens through these surveys? Because clearly they've told us what kind of growth and development they want and don't want. Back to my recommendation, I think a citizen-based, vision-focused approach to master planning has been well applied and embraced, for example, by Frederick County. I'm sure you're aware and familiar with their livable Frederick master plan process. And I think there are lessons learned for us to look at that plan. I have a lot of other specific comments, and I've itemized those. I want to leave you with this, and let me say I applaud all of you because I know you're taking this approach, and I look forward to supporting you along the way, and I'll be offering additional comments as more chapters come out. But the master plan is not to be used as a doorstop, but rather as a touchstone for guiding and prioritizing land use, zoning, annexation, and related investment decisions. And importantly, it can and should be used by the citizens to judge if elected officials are following it. And for that, I would reference you to the Myersville 2020 Comprehensive Plan, where in part, they stated, elected officials use the plan to make decisions which are consistent with an adopted course of action and to make progress on issues which are identified within the plan. The citizens can use the plan to judge the decisions of the planners and elected officials and to gauge the progress made in areas of concern. So it's just my reiteration to say, when all else fails, you simply listen to the wishes of the citizens, and you're probably going in the right direction. And we've committed to using the results of the surveys. I ask you to continue to draw upon those as you build the master plan. So thank you. And I have my formal comments here that I'd like entered into the record. Yes,
Well, I was, about your comments, do you have copies for everybody?
I have copies for
Okay,
everybody.
great, thank you.
Excellent. I was going to ask you for that. Okay. I'll let you take the lead in how we go through.
Okay, okay.
Sure. Cool.
If there, if there are no other public comments or input to the master plan tonight, for the remainder of the agenda, we're going to focus on three elements of the current master plan draft, Chapter 1, Chapters 4, and Chapters 5. And these are all part of, just very quickly, a workflow process and a workflow calendar that puts rigor into each of the 2013 elements, updates them to the 2023 master plan, and still gets to the September, October timeframe of 2024 with a formal submission of the completed draft to the council for their review and approval, inclusive of the county representatives' reviews prior to that September, October timeframe, and inclusive of the public review, all of which is required by the state in maturing our document as we work through it. So tonight, Chapter 1 is the first of the three on our current agenda. Again, Chapter 1, then we jump to Chapter 4 and Chapter 5. So Chapter 1 is, I'll do a quick summary of it. It is the overview of what is a master plan, including the process and including a description of the requirements from the state as to what has to be seen inside a jurisdiction's master plan. And that's it in a nutshell. It basically educates the reader as to what they should be looking for, and of course, from the commission standpoint, what we must provide and comply with as far as the state. And so the commissioners, I think this now is in its actual third review. We did last examine it on the 9th of November. In its second review, we had a really good interaction in that work section, some really good comments, and so those were taken into account, and this draft before you represents hopefully the draft that we can then place after tonight into the public parking lot. And if we have time at the end, maybe we'll talk about what that means, but I won't get into it just yet. But tonight is hopefully the last look at, again, the ingredients of a master plan and the process by which it is created. So with that overview, actually, Bill, if you agree, we just open it up to whatever the commissioners see that needs to still be modified, or?
Before we do that, I'll say, if you're not already aware of it, there is a workflow schedule for each of the chapters in the proposed master plan that, if we step through it, this plan gets us through all of it by fall of '24, by October, November timeframe, okay? We have copies of this if you want to take a look. But reactions, comments to Chapter 1? We've gone over this several times, but any thoughts as you looked over it the past week or two?
I'll just add on page 12, I'll just throw in, page 12 does have a highlighted line at line 254. That is simply to make note of a linkage to a map that will appear in the overall plan. And so that's there just as a kind of a place marker so that we clean it up, once we get the map into the final book.
Area map, okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that pretty much what's left to do, is just put in updated, facts for like the map and,
For chapter 1?
The most
yeah,
current
the
material.
updated table, yeah. I think that's it.
Yeah. There was another highlighted area, line 440, page 18. Again, it states that there's a plan currently under revision by the Frederick County Commissioners. Again, I just wanted to make sure, Justin, that's as written in 2013, that statement. So we'll need to get with you. But we can talk about that before we put it in the parking lot. And I
Well,
don't,
we could also reach out to the planning commissioners for each of the 4 counties, for that matter,
true.
and see if they have any reaction,
And again,
comments.
yeah, and again, they'll see that when it goes to them for their formal review. And they can, of course, say, oh, no, that's OBE, or it's
Yeah.
not the.
So you'll have the chance to look at that again.
Correct.
You might let your fellow commissioners, planning commissioners, be aware. Take a very close look at it and see if you have any feedback for us.
I will mention that the map itself, of course, will be one of the 11 by 17 fold-out mats
Yeah.
that were inside the document. So the reference number there is, of course, page number that it would be at, once it gets put into place.
All right?
Are we updating on page 19 that comparison of physical growth through,
Yeah, it's only through.
it's only through 2022? Are we updating that graph?
Again, that has been updated. Currently, we could put 2023 by there. I mean,
I think that's census data that you're
Oh, okay.
showing
Okay,
every 10 years.
okay,
And so that's
gotcha.
the last
That's why.
census.
Last of census, okay,
That's why it's
perfect.
only 2020.
Yep.
Okay. All right. Any other comments or feedback?
I'm good. Good.
All right, you're comfortable with it?
Okay.
Okay.
Move to chapter 4. Chapter 4 now is our first review, and so you're going to see a more substantial markup on it. And we will look at chapter 4 a second time. I believe our next session is December 7th. So this is our first cut at it. We don't have to get everything right. We're going to get another go at it on December 7th work session to try to, take it home.
Yeah.
So again, there's a lot of line in, line out text, a lot of it updating. So open to anything that comes to your attention.
Any overall reactions to this version?
I think, again, we just need to make sure all of the charts are updated. John, do you need any help with that, or are you waiting on people to give you things?
No, I should be able to be pulling that together. It was just timing wise.
Right.
I have to meet with my one person who does a lot more of that than I do to sort of prep me on updating a lot of this stuff. It's based in a different format than I'm usually used to doing. So it references back to another document, an Excel spreadsheet that they link to
Oh,
this.
yeah.
Are you going to have enough time between now and December 7th?
To update chapter 4,
Uh-huh.
possibly. I have a meeting tomorrow and a meeting on Wednesday to set up for the other thing, but, hopefully so.
Okay.
Okay.
Well, maybe it helps that we're not meeting in December. I mean, it's a busy, busy month.
Yes. But I'll attempt to work on updating all those charts as well.
Okay.
I can bring your attention to page 63, line 1666. First off, I need to edit whoever edited this. That guy got it wrong. It says, and so two things in here. At the very end, thought should be throughout. This is spell check and Word. Caught me off guard that night. So I made a note, it should say, and you should think about that first topic sentence there to see if you're comfortable with it. And this is future residential development will be concentrated on infill areas throughout the town within the residential portion of 2 large mixed-use parcels. And I got a second edit there. And through or some ADU creation. Now, the thought there, and I know I'm asking you to jump right into that paragraph, but that's something that you got to chew on there, because as commissioners, we're saying our residential growth is going to be focused first and foremost within infill. Okay? I mean, are you comfortable with that?
Yeah, and actually, FYI, there's an ADU Zoom
Correct.
tomorrow morning at 9.
ADU task force.
ADU task force that, it's Maryland State Planning Commission, right?
is.
Yeah,
It's
okay,
being
so
led,
I
yeah.
signed up to do that to hope, are you gonna watch it as well? Okay, to hopefully get some more perspective on
Good.
that, because
Yeah.
I actually just, also.
It's a huge tool that a lot of jurisdictions are using more and more.
Well, and there's a builder that I keep seeing their advertisements, and they are offering the option of future, I can't remember exactly, it's something like future use, but it's actually building in a suite in the house, as, it's a brand-new structure, but it's the house, and then the future home or whatever it's not separate, it's built right on. It looks like it flows with the entire house,
But it's not an apartment.
but it's not it's like
That's the interesting thing.
yeah, it's for, yes, exactly, yeah. But they call it something else, like generational housing or something like that.
So I'd be a little careful on that currently, because
Yeah.
that's, again, a special exception that you have to go through the Board of Appeals. So to say that that's where we're focusing our growth, I'd be a little concerned that,
Okay.
it's really not an avenue that's really opened up easily. So I don't know.
But I am curious about if a builder came in and somebody had a lot in town and they said, this is the dream house, but we want this generational suite, would they have to go through the special exception if it's part of the whole build?
If it has a separate kitchen, then yes.
Okay,
Well, I think the opportunity is over the next 5 to 10 years, we're going to see more and more communities that are taking a look at ADUs and the best way to incorporate them.
Well, and I know that since the state of Maryland Department of Planning is getting involved, that I could feel that there's potential legislation that might be coming down, that might be
Yeah.
sort of
Well,
enforcing that.
would it impact our process? I mean, we don't know yet, I guess.
It's possible, I guess. I don't know. I'm speculating.
Yeah,
But that's sort of the gut feeling I was getting at one of the last ADU meeting I went to.
okay.
It wasn't said that way, but that's the feeling I had.
So I'll strike that after 2 large misuse parcels, and so I'll just period there. And And so we can debate later as to how we want to, if at all, address exploring ADU as an additional diversification of housing offering, that sort of
Or
thing.
maybe we can,
Yeah.
after tomorrow's Zoom call, we might have more information.
True enough.
And just do
Yep.
like a little blurb about it.
Right.
If that makes it simpler.
And last point on ADUs, I know we're kicking that pretty good here. Right now, ADUs has a familial relationship regarding the tenant. So it's not as if a typical apartment seeker is associated with the ADU diversity. It's a familial relationship. It's the elderly parents or a family person who's in need of family support, disabled, et cetera, whatever. But there is that linkage with the family in the tenant.
Why don't y'all email all of us the results of,
The note, yeah.
tomorrow?
Because they usually send out a copy of the call, right, afterwards? If you're
Usually
registered.
they have a link to the video. Normally, they'd have the Zoom video link that they usually send out afterwards. So we can, if I receive that, I'll forward it to everybody else.
Yeah, because that would be, everybody should be able,
Yeah,
to
yeah, yeah.
when they have time to.
All right,
And I'll include you, Jason, too.
excellent, excellent.
This is page 63.
Why don't you
Ralph,
step us through
We've
this?
already moved on to chapter.
Sorry, I have a question about, on 1667, where it talks about within the residential portion of 2 large mixed-use parcels. Are you referring to, which parcels are you referring to?
So that would be the MXD and the MXUCC as the two, and so these are my words, but again, I'm open to, those are right now, in my mind, the two largest, let's use the word, building opportunities for residential growth
Okay.
on single parcels.
Let me just say
Well, to
2
Heather's-
mixed-use parcels.
Right, to Heather's point, maybe we can even say, Mount Airy Crossing and Green Tree. I don't know if we want to single those two out, because that's really, because you could look at Mount Airy Crossing as 2 parcels. It's divided by
That's what I
27.
was-
That's what
yeah.
she's sort of trying to get to.
Oh, I got you.
So
I got you.
the perception of 2 parcels, well, that could just be Mount Airy Crossings.
Oh, I got
But
you.
it's actually,
Okay.
you're talking Mount Airy Crossing and Green Tree.
Just name them.
Well, I'm not sure that we should name them, maybe,
Yeah, I don't know, like you're saying.
they're still in like, one is still in progress.
Right.
How
one
about
has
if I
gotten
just,
a
if I said,
pre-concept sketch plan approval, which is moving forward.
Well, I think by the time this is done, we'll know what's going on.
Right.
So we can always update it later.
But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because it's kind of,
It's kind of like,
is it Mount Airy Crossing is the 2 parcels? It's
how about
really-
I just get rid of, I'll just say, within the residential portion of large mixed-use districts.
It's probably better, because
Yeah.
now we're not singling out
I've
a
generalized
specific-
it. Yeah, I'm not saying 2, I'm not saying 3.
Right.
And I'm kind of fencing out Chevrolet Court because we're only talking 5, right?
Right.
5, and
And that's not mixed use either, so.
it's not mixed use, right?
that's the Dennis subdivision, I guess.
So nothing else comes to mind as far as where's the biggest bang for residential growth kind of statement, so.
Can we just take out and put a period throughout the town? And then take out that
Sure.
last sentence too? And then we're not naming anything at all, it's very vague
Sure.
Could be the
instead.
downtown zone, which is
It does-
the cold
yeah.
storage property, because
Right.
that could be a play.
Right, because
Great point.
we need to keep that in our sights for something happening.
Right, something, because
Right.
again, we do have a plan that was sort of a pre-plan that was submitted for what, 43 units they were talking about back there of elderly housing.
So also,
The townhouses was, yes, with the stairway to heaven,
The elevator,
and with the elevators.
The elevator.
It was interesting,
Senior housing, starting at 450,000.
yeah.
for more than that.
the table on page 61,
There were 600.
1623, it says,
40.
change the name. I don't think it's Green Tree Senior Village anymore. So we just need to update that.
Which number again?
23, I know you said you're updating the tables, so I just wanted to point out
Page
that,
61.
yeah, line
I see what you're
1623,
saying,
that
Green
table
Tree
there.
Senior Village, yeah, thank you,
Yeah.
Okay,
thank you.
Green Tree pending, got it, good check. John, as you noticed, I edited that table based upon the concept plan from that builder.
Yep.
So, okay. I think the numbers are right, so.
Page 64, 1705, are we just putting in, it says to current code requirement, are we putting in the code there?
Let's see.
Which number, I'm
In
sorry?
blue, 1706, line 1706.
Yeah, so I added that in, and it could easily come back out. All I was trying to do was clarify, the downtown zone district was created so that there could be development within the downtown zone, unimpeded by current code requirements. Let me say that differently. The zone was created so that there would be encouragement for building and infill development in the downtown zone.
That was a
So is
reality
that-
after the fire.
Right. So is that Perrin's phrase that is being referenced here, is that unnecessary?
I think so.
Okay.
I think so.
So we're taking out that to current code requirements?
Right.
Okay.
How about that explanation I add at the end after setbacks? In other words, I'm making it clear that because of the density and the closeness of old historic buildings in the downtown zone, you're hardly ever going to get the setback requirements met. So I was just adding a little verbiage there to clarify that.
So we have a prime example where we might have, a property that's coming through the rail yard that, they'll still have to meet all the setback requirements. And again, it would be a potential mixed use with commercial on the first floor, residential on the second and third floor. And again, we're currently communicating with somebody that's sort of working through that plan. We haven't actually physically received the plan. But they'll have to meet all the setback requirements. And if not, they'd have to go through a variation request, either through planning or Board of Appeals, if they're looking for that.
So strike that suffix after setbacks.
I would get rid of that, I'm sorry.
No,
Okay.
no, that's what I need.
This applicant has brought previous plans that are very similar to what I'm seeing right now, but I've never moved forward. But he did ring my phone this morning. I haven't called him back yet. But
It's not a
tomorrow's the
parking,
day.
it's not a parking garage, is it?
No, it's not a parking garage, but there might be elevated parking that would go along with it to support the residential element.
Interesting. Okay.
Interesting.
Once I have a plan, I can show it to you. Yeah, if somebody submits something, and you guys are more than welcome anytime to come in and look at any current project that we're working through that isn't brought to you guys yet because it's still in a very preliminary concept plan.
Well,
So you guys are more than welcome to come and look at that anytime.
there's a lot of elevation variation in that location too.
Yes, it's a little challenging, but I think what they're currently proposing, it seems like is if he can get financing, it might move forward. I think that's the big thing. He had to have enough real estate, or enough residential units and enough commercial space to actually get financing to be able to have the banks actually give him money.
All right.
And if I could offer, beginning on page 65, there's a section called the review of the existing zoning categories. So going from the 2013 version into a 2023 version, as you flip through those pages, you see there were some necessary corrections and additions of all new district zoning terms. Limited commercial. If you get to 67, you'll see all of the codes like OPD, MXUCC, et cetera. And so those are just add-ins. And the text is the probably the topic sentences out of our current code. So none of that was original thought. It was just basically taking it straight out of the code as a description.
I will say that 1824, that's OPE and not OPD.
No kidding.
That should be Office Park Employment. I'm pretty sure. It's OPE.
Yeah, OPE,
Really?
yeah,
Double
I've
check
seen
that.
that on maps.
yeah, OPE.
You want me to look real quick, Ralph?
You-
You want me to try? I have it.
On the first couple pages in the index.
Before
area.
limited commercial?
Well, I'm just saying, you can look in the index and it'll have the different designations in there, in the zoning.
Oh, jeez.
The front of it, but in the front page of the zoning section.
Yeah, hang on. I flagged out everything but, I flagged out everything but the residential and the OP.
112.
Yep.
You have it memorized.
Yeah.
No, I wish I did, but then it would change, and then I'd have to memorize it again.
Hang on, I'm almost at the beginning, Ralph.
I'm 99.9% right.
Oh, yeah. It's 112-50.1 is Office Park Employment District, OPE.
OPE. It gives that acronym. It does, good. Got it. That's the third mistake I made this year.
It's okay.
Yeah.
We forgive you.
Right. And then flipping to 68, there was originally, again, the 2013 master plan had a section called Review of New or Proposed Zoning Categories. And you can see from that text years ago, they were talking about a mixed use coming into being, OPE coming into being. Well, all of that is now, of course, superseded with facts today. I did make a margin note over there that we can chew on in the second review of this, that, again, going back to ADUs, could we possibly, do we want to possibly put something in there as far as proposed zoning that is specific to ADUs? And so I just kind of asked the question. I didn't offer any text, but I just kind of put it out there as food for thought in a proposed zoning effort in the next 10 years, so.
Yeah, and I think after tomorrow, we might have more answers
Right.
about what's the future for that. And that would really help guide our writing
Yep.
for it.
And then moving past onto pages 69 and onward, I have we don't have to modify it, so to speak, here, but we will need to have addressed it in the second meeting. Do you still hold those sentences true today?
Which line are you at? I'm sorry, Ralph.
So in other words, at 1865 on page 69, there is a statement that says, therefore, the town should strive towards providing enough alternative zoning categories that assist in providing so on and so forth. Again, these are sprinkled throughout the master plan. There are, I kind of refer to them as there are thrusts. There are important single sentences, such as the first one when we let off, we talked about the residential development will be focused on, et cetera, et cetera. That's a pretty definitive statement from the commissioners. You know, that's what we're saying is going to happen to residential. So on this page 69, there are a couple examples similarly. Do we want to continue to say that?
So I think that this might be a little bit outdated,
Right.
that statement, especially because we just talked about how the existing parcels are mixed use. So we're talking about balancing residential and industrial expansion in this sentence.
Yep.
I'm not really sure if that should be updated.
Would
On
you,
1860.
Yeah, 1860.
would you be more comfortable with commercial expansion or just take it out altogether?
I don't know, I need to.
Think about it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think a lot of tonight is just getting the juices going on some key phrases. I would say, if I can take you back in a time machine to the writing of 2013, 2013 clearly, and Bill, check me on this if you disagree, 2013 had a message in it that said, we've had a surge of population and we grew our residential dwelling units more than our commercial. And in 2013, we now need to shift with less emphasis on residential building and more emphasis on commercial industrial. And it was an economic employment argument that was pervasive, again, in the thinking of 2013. I'm not necessarily, yeah, and so I'm not necessarily subscribing to that statement today for the next 10 years. But again, that's yet again, another kind of example of a thrust statement that we have to think about when we talk about Chapter 4 in housing, so.
Yeah, thank you. Grab it. Yeah.
I'm just wondering too, because there's so much going on around us. If we were to attract more businesses here to provide services here, because it would also attract not necessarily people living here, but coming to spend money.
So I'm glad you brought that up, because I'm sure it's in a later chapter, but I think somewhere we will need to address that, population
external-
explosion
Yeah,
in the
around-
Newmarket area, because you already see they're coming to Walmart in Mount Airy.
Yeah.
And our traffic, infrastructure is not, I was out Wednesday and it was horrible. So, just food for thought.
Well, it still amazes me, the most interesting thing occurs at the senior center. It draws from throughout central Maryland. I would say half of that senior population on a regular basis, when they get together each month, is coming from the four-county area at least. Half of them. It's not just local. And so it pulls.
And so Heather, if I can kind of riff off of Heather used a word a moment ago, and I've thought about this the same way I think that she expressed it, and that is maybe the recipe for the next 10 years isn't a focus on residential or commercial or for each in their own separate arguments. And I'm going to kind of say, maybe the right phrase is balanced, a balanced growth within the town, that if you look at the residential portion of that balanced growth, you're going to try to address the aging population. And so you have the arguments that we've heard in the town surveys and the public hearings about more senior housing, right? And we've already seen one of our large parcels make a substantial change in their pre-concept plan that addressed that very thrust, right? And then you have the other demographic that'll stand up and tell you, well, to us, additional residential dwelling units has to accommodate the young family that wants to come and make Mount Airy their home, even if they're working in downtown Washington, even if they're going east to work in Baltimore. It's the place they want to call home, and so we have to think in terms of residential growth that accommodates the college kid who comes back after, getting their degree, the young family that wants to make a start. So now you're into apartments, you're into, that type. So you see what I'm getting at? It's a tough recipe to kind of have everything cooked in that hits each of those, but, we can do it. We can address those needs.
But that's realistic. If you don't replenish the elementary, the middle school, the high schoolers that are graduating, if you don't backfill, again, the way you do it is with an array of housing, in all price points. Otherwise, those young families, their starter homes and so forth, they can't afford to go.
Well, and the starter homes that are being built right now are not starter homes.
No.
They're like $400,000. Yeah, no.
Yeah,
Yeah. It's unrealistic, unless it's one person, they have roommates.
Right.
And they all sign leases, and then the bank will say, yes, you can have your house because you have, someone else contributing.
Well, I'm hoping, I'm hoping the Green Tree will be providing that kind of stepping stone for younger couples coming in. I understand they're going to be, starting at $400,000, but, we also have to think about, what kids coming out of college are making now. They're coming in at the workforce at a higher level
Yeah.
of pay than, say, when we started working, so I think it's all proportional. But also, I want to be a little cautious because, just saying we just want commercial growth, I think Ralph's point is great, is we want balanced growth. We want a portion, because they're only going to bring in so much commercial because you need X amount of houses to support X amount of square footage of commercial. So I think it's a balance, right? I think with the Green Tree and potentially the Mount Airy Crossing, I think it is a good balance.
Yeah.
I think that would be the better verbiage.
And again,
Balance.
kind of kicking off of that, if you now focus on balance and the recipe of that being commercial, you really have to face the facts. We've got the Twin Arch Industrial Park. I'm sorry, industrial is where I was going. We got the Twin Arch Industrial Park, and then we got the Rising Ridge Professional Center Quasi-Industrial District, right?
Right, and we
Those-
have another one that's coming, that's industrial, which is just behind the Carnival Grounds. That's the other large parcel of an industrial that's currently zoned in the town. But to your point, we're at 80% or 85% of build-outs.
Completion.
Right, so there's not a huge amount of industrial property for development.
Yeah, and so I'll finish by saying, just to that point, if we push a focused growth in industrial, then what we're doing, I think, is we're starting to obligate what we want to zone any future annexation to become.
Right.
And so you have to step back from that and talk about when we grow the town's boundaries, we eventually have to zone that growth, that land.
Right.
And if we're going to have a focus on some of that, because we have an annexation map in our plan,
Correct,
proposed
correct.
future
Future
annexations.
annexations,
Right.
yep.
And so, again, it's kind of, we have to tread lightly as to any of that being given kind of a promise or a focus of becoming
Industrial.
industrial.
Right.
Like a third industrial park or, another Twin Arch over on the north side of town.
Right, and where is it that you want that, right? And again, back to your point, is that, do we want that at Harris Lashir? Do we want that at Mill Farm? Do we want that? I mean, really, the other OPE portion, and probably the proper location for potential industrial, is the South Main annexation. That parcel there is fairly large. I think it's 168 acres, I think, is what the total acres.
Near
of-
70.
It's near 70.
All those
It's,
reasons, yep.
Again, it's on the outskirts of town. I think that's currently, the current land use of that is, if it were to be annexed, is OPE. But, with the COVID and everything else, you can see that the OPE is a dying zone. So, maybe that's a modification that we have to put into our future land use of that. It might be, its designation might be industrial instead of OPE. Just a thought. Because again, we are running out of industrial land.
Also, the open space deficit, if OP is dying, would we be able to use some of that for our open space? If we zone it, how easily could we divide it up to say this part's industrial and this part is a park? To kind of,
We don't own the land to designate as a park, but that's a challenge.
Okay.
Right? Because again, industrial doesn't require open space. So to go to an owner and say, well, we're going to take half of your property and turn it into a park, I don't know how we can do that easily.
okay. Just throwing it
I
out
mean,
there.
it's a great idea. It's a great idea, but I don't know how.
But Martina brings up another foot stomper here, that this isn't going to be easy, because our initial discussions of future annexations did include a discussion of using that zoning as conservation
Yeah.
to fix the open space deficit within the town, right? And so if that now becomes a priority of growth
Right.
to overcome open space deficit, then you're, by saying that, you're restricting residential growth, industrial growth, you know what I'm saying?
Because, I mean, we are in deficit, and it talks about what you said, balance. You know, if we're going to do, if we have to do residential, or if we have to do commercial, we also need to make sure to devote to backfilling that open space gap where we can, if we have the opportunity.
Well, we still have to balance our APFO
Yeah.
as well. So this is this is a huge challenge. This is something that we're taking under that we really need to be thoughtful through it.
Yeah.
It's not an easy task. And especially for that prime example, that South Main annexation, let's stick with that. You know, that's in Frederick County. Well, you're not going to get any residential development going on there right now because of they're inadequate with schools. So, you know, and again, who wants to have a house right beside 70?
Right.
You know, so, right, so I feel like, what's that? Or a park. Or a park right beside 70, you know, I mean, just food for thought, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
Kind of going through the remaining pages, John, I just put some margin notes on like page 70. Just check a few things there to see if they're still current.
So Ralph, just going back to the statements on 69, the paragraph starting at 1870. You know, again, the timing of the development of mixed-use properties in town will impact how this looks in the end. But I think, you know, with one proposing 105,000 square feet of retail, it might not be as big of a growing concern or continuing concern as is stated here. So just, again, something to think about.
I got you. Yeah. Yeah, so, kind of fact of what I think you're saying is when we look at those two pending developments, which has 75-25% kind of balance of residential and commercial, right? If you look at just those two large acreages, that, unless someone sees it differently, that is exactly where the growth in those two areas is going to be. Because I don't see us going dedicated commercial in another parcel or future annexation area. Do you?
Possibly the Mill Farm, if that were to come in. I forget what the actual land use is for that.
Right.
It might have been conservation. But again, do you want conservation located right along the edge of 27? You know, is that more of a potential industrial spot? It might make a great park, another linear park expanding Wildwood. But, you know, I'm not sure. Again, I'd have to look at the map to see, I forget what the land use was, future land use of that is.
I can't remember either.
So to your point here, the sentence that says this is an area of continuing concern, it may not be. Right. Okay, so I'll offer for the second review on December 7th, some tweaking of that paragraph that says differently, that speaks differently to commercial. And then, as I mentioned, on 70, John, just a few things, there's specific acreage numbers in there, and I just want to make sure we're righteous about them.
Yep.
On page 72, midway, 1961, I just offer the Flatiron Building as an example of that historic pride. Older areas of town are sources of pride to the community,
I will say it'll be tough to get some major modifications done on my end, because again, I need to get packets out to you guys, unless I can get them out on the 4th, Monday the 4th, because, this Thursday is the week ahead of the 7th meeting, so.
Right.
It's, we're cutting it very close, but
7th is really tight.
yeah, I mean, not that we can't possibly push that back to the 14th,
Why don't,
but I'd have to look at a calendar and
I
look
think
at that.
that's a consideration.
It just seems like we're very close on the turnaround time, but
And since we don't have a meeting in December, I mean, I think we need to give ourselves some latitude perhaps.
let me look at that tomorrow just to see what's happening in that following week, that week of the 11th through the 14th or 15th. Maybe we can do something on the 14th, if
So
that works.
push our meeting from the 7th to the 14th is what you're,
Wondering if that might be,
Okay.
just really quickly looking at the calendar, I'm thinking,
Yeah,
back
please
in
take a
town.
look.
I'll be back in town
okay.
that day.
You also have a Hanukkah, I think the celebration on the 7th, so downtown might be closed for a while.
Oh, on the 7th, it's on the 7th,
Too, maybe.
so that might be,
so it may change, yeah.
I don't know, I'll look at that tomorrow and see, and then I'll send an email out to
Yeah,
see who's
good.
available.
Good,
Sorry about that.
no problem.
And then if you start at page 74, and I apologize if I'm jumping too fast. And John, what begins on 74 is a property by property map along with specific business information, specific property information for each of those separate parcels. And so you can clearly see I didn't make any edits on those because kind of the fundamental question is, do these stay current in 2023?
Well, I can see that two of these are currently, inaccurate.
Okay,
Because the one, of course, is the Dr. Boaz or Dr. Schwartz parcel that's no longer, an abandoned house. They're working on building his medical eye center there.
right.
And then the other one is actually been a subdivided parcel, so, the current house at the front is really being occupied. This is the one right behind Five Guys. That parcel, I think, would be modified. But, no, yeah, so this will all have to be
Yeah, so I,
looked at as well.
so I think from
Be updated.
74 to the end, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
We go through all of those, including cold storage on 79, Twin Arch Road, et cetera, et cetera. We basically wrap up that chapter 4 with those specific property listings.
Right, yeah, it's definitely the Backacre Circle. The majority of that has been developed, You're probably there's only 3 or 4 lots that haven't been developed back there.
Yeah, so we just kind of need to clean that up before.
And realize it could very easily change significantly, in the 10 years or so that this finished master plan update is out there.
Yes.
And then what I'm trying to drive us toward is the very end of the chapter where we try to outline some objectives and implementing strategies relative to the housing chapter. And so my first comment is if you go to page 82, you can see beginning on line 2077, there's a letter B and then C and D. That's not going to stay in there. All I did was lift the goals out of the introduction and place them here as just easy reference for now looking at the drafted objectives on the following pages. So again, it was just so that you didn't have to flip to the introduction and look for them. I just put them there. So those will come out. And so then if you go to page 83, that's where those objectives will begin. And I'll quickly walk through them and we can talk about them. We're coming up on 9 o'clock and I know we have one more chapter to quickly hit, but so strategic goal B is responsible growth through infill development and annexations while erasing our open space deficit. And so in the objective B, chapter 4, first objective, B41, I put words that drive infill development across targeted zoning districts in order to create building fees and tax revenue growth, okay? And the implementation was focused on completing the downtown zone infill, residential districts infill, and then industrial districts infill. And again, these were just ideas to do responsible growth from this chapter. I'm not so sure the industrial district infill is appropriate in this section. So, you know, I'm almost talking myself out of putting that in there.
Or do you want to say commercial/industrial to give it more balance?
I certainly
I
could.
could. Yep. And of course, infill is with two Ls.
But I also don't think we should be limiting just to the Twin Arch, because again, it could be where Cube Smart's going, that's still infill industrial. So I don't think we should limit it to that one. I think saying commercial and industrial and sort of leaving it broad, because we
Okay.
don't know what could change between now and then, or.
Gotcha. So that would almost sound like I'm excluding Rising Ridge, right, in that area?
And
Okay.
there's potential for, I think, 4 parcels over there currently that are,
Gotcha.
I think there might be 2 that don't have any, 2 or 3 that don't have any site plans in. Other ones we have approved site plans that just haven't been constructed.
I'm with you. Okay. On the residential districts infill, you see that I have some draft text that places the old cold storage property as a top priority in this objective. Is that a necessary statement? This is how we're going to implement residential infill? Or is that too targeted?
It's too targeted.
Yeah.
Okay, so strike?
I think so. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't think we want to name specific properties or those type of things, because then we're limiting ourselves.
Okay.
And also, if the developer comes in and says, well, your master plan says right here.
Right.
That's a high priority, and here I'm presenting a plan, and you're saying no, so like, I don't know,
Yep.
I think it's good to be.
And then I like how you have reduce our open space deficit in there.
Yeah, so that's the second objective
Yeah.
under this chapter, and so, again, that comes under the strategic goal of responsible growth, right? So, the implementation there, and John and Barney, it's, we need to have a firm handle on what our deficit is and what is necessary to overcome it, so it's simply just the numbers, keeping up.
We're still at 83 acres.
82?
83, 82.
Yep, okay. So that's an easy, yeah.
83.
So that's an easy thing in the implementation. The second is prioritize a list of future annexation properties adjacent to the town boundary which can contribute to reducing or removing the deficit. So that kind of goes back to the previous comments about, do we go CD on those futures? And if we do, where does it focus? So those become now the deficit reducing annexations and not residential annexations or commercial annexations. So just, if someone were to ask us, or a council member were asked, well, what annexations are kind of going to help us in getting rid, because we can't reduce the deficit with what we currently have. That's a flat out statement. There is no area within the town boundaries.
Nothing in the corporate limits that
Right.
would take us at a deficit.
Correct.
Unless you take the whole Beck property
Exactly.
and call that open space, and then, then we'd be square.
Yeah.
Who's got,
I'm not sure a lot
$20
of
million
people
to do so.
push back on that.
What's that?
So anyway, the comment there is, okay, so if we're going to rely on the deficit reduction through annexation, where's our focused areas to do that? And that then kind of steers the town toward that area is going to be CD or going to be the open space fix. And then I just offer, again, a third, develop outreach strategies for town discussions with those property owners. But that may be just a dust statement. You're going to do that anyway if you do an annexation proposal, right? You're going to do outreach, you're going to have to talk.
Right.
So that last implementing strategy is probably a Captain Obvious statement, right? So, again, what's your comfort zone on at last implementation.
Which line item are we at again?
I'm sorry, we're at 2128 on page 84.
Okay.
It's basically saying you will develop an outreach into discussions with those annexation property owners.
Does this assume that annexation properties would be MXD?
No,
No.
no.
Because it's under
Did
that.
I say that somewhere? Or did I offer that?
It's
It's under that. It's under that goal, right?
Go down, down,
Are you on G?
No, we're way up at,
Oh,
We're at
sorry.
D.
we're
We're
up
down
at
under-
2128.
Okay.
Yeah. So think about it, John. And again, kind of a discussion next time.
How, is there a penalty? Are we under a time crunch to fix the open space issue? Or is the state, like, are we being watched, or have they sent letters like you need to fix this problem by a certain date, or it's just an ongoing thing that we have to fix?
It's just an ongoing thing
Okay.
within the town. I don't know of any correspondence saying that we're in violation.
Okay,
We're just, that's the town standard, and we're in a deficit in the town standard.
okay.
And then D, again, the thrust on strategic goal D is just get the downtown vision plan into a implementation path. Again, correct me if I'm wrong, it's a plan that is well thought out. My perception, it's well thought out. It's fairly comprehensive. But that ball hadn't been picked up and ran down the field.
Yep, that's true.
And so I think
Hence
there's a
why
lot
they-
of goodness in what that plan says can happen. And so let's just get underway.
And I know the planning commission was very adamant of calling it a vision plan and not a master plan, because it's more of a conceptual, hey, it's pretty, like, it's not an implementable plan, even though, I mean, I'd love to see a lot of it being implemented. But they were very adamant about not calling it a master plan or any kind of even update to our current master plan. It was very much the vision statement or vision plan is how they wanted to do it. Now, again, trying to implement some of that, I think it's great, I mean, and again, I think some of the one project that's coming through for the downtown here, he was talking about trying to create like an outside area with, an amphitheater type of layout, part of it. It's very pie in the sky, but I mean, it's possible. So hopefully we can implement some of those visions in that plan. The connected walkway through cold storage, I think would be a great objective to try to.
That would be huge.
That'd be a huge goal, right? To try to obtain that somehow,
I mean, that's
which we are working towards.
a worthy
you know?
objective.
Right, that's one of the things we are working towards.
And so again, look at how I see that vision plan unfolding, coming off the shelf, going into action. And we can talk about it more on the next work session. And then the last goal is titled Mixed-Use Development Oversight and Transparency. And so Heather, that's kind of where I want, and this kind of harkens back to the comment I made to good Justin about we've got a county adjacent to us that already has seen some concerns. Let me put soft words in there. Concerns with regard to MXD. And so I have an objective in there that we want to, and I hate to use a cliche, but I'm going to do it, and that is we want to make sure MXD unfolds as truly smart growth. Whatever definition you want to put in that adjective, smart.
Balance.
I just want to, yeah. I would like for us not to get to a point where we say halfway through Mount Airy Crossing, stop all work.
Right.
It's not wise to continue.
Right.
Because now we're really in trouble. So that's what I'm saying there in that objective.
And that might be very difficult if we're in a DARA with, once we're in that DARA, then there's commitments from both sides, right? So we wouldn't be able to just stop Mount Airy crossings, I don't think. Once that ball's rolling, I don't think we can stop that ball. We can stop future balls, but that ball, I don't think midway through, it might be very difficult to change trajectory.
Okay.
But the DARA is not mandatory, right? It's an option.
I think there's a requirement of the MXD. It's not, I think we would want to go into a DARA, but do you not think
It's
so?
up to the council.
Right. But anyway,
So,
if we're in a DARA, then it would make it very complicated.
I think it would be great to hear from Frederick County on their lessons learned on DARAs, as Justin alluded to earlier.
That's a perspective we need to better understand that.
So again, that goal can come out of here, but it was really just to make sure we convey to the public that we got our eyes on this new zoning district. And a lot of the implementation, John, Barney, I think it's fair to say those are, again, kind of Captain Duh. You're going to do these anyway, but it's to kind of put in writing, lending toward oversight and transparency. Those are the things that would be included in that kind of routine council meeting, planning commission meeting, disclosure of how are we doing in that particular parcel. But again, your thoughts on it, welcome next time we get together. That ends that chapter. The rest of the writing there is the original 2013 form of goals and so forth. I left those in just so you can kind of see, of course, what was there, 10 years ago. And so with all those markups that I captured from you guys, unless there's any alibis, move into 5 real quick.
Yeah.
Okay. So first off, I want to commend Barney and Julianne, right? Barney and Julianne threw in a great deal into the text in the municipal growth element. The MGE is an example of a required element by the state planners. So we have to talk about the municipal growth element. So the first part of this chapter, the first few pages, basically talks about what has existed in the town as far as its zoning districts and its land use patterns. And so it really just recaps for the reader, where are we now? And that's essentially what it does. And then, because you see beginning on page 84, past growth patterns.
Right.
Yeah.
It kind of gives you a fuller sense of how the town has evolved, so to speak, in its land use. And then later on in the chapter, it goes into how zoning and subdivision regulations will impact the characteristics of the town. And then the most important part, establishes new goals for land use and zoning policies. So from one guy's perspective, if one chapter was extremely important in the entire master plan, it's this chapter. It's a critical chapter to write the prescription for how we're going to grow. So anyway, with that overview, I don't know if you've had time to look through some of the puts and takes from the 2013. If there's anything that jumps out and bothers you, certainly let's chat about it.
So the chart on page 87, that's another one that needs to be updated.
Right.
John? Is that like
What was your question? I'm sorry.
page 87? That's another chart.
Available land inventory.
Yeah, okay.
Yep.
Mr. Assistant Chair, may I give a couple or Mr. Chair or whoever, may I come up and give a couple quick comments? And
Sure.
nothing
Hey.
specific,
Sure.
but
We get public input.
unfortunately, Carl Munder, Town Council, I'm just gonna give general reviews of thoughts, nothing specific in here. Unfortunately, I printed a copy out of the packet, so, but it did not include the most updated things. So my numbering and locations might be off on here, but I want to say under one thing, it appears to be a paragraph missing. Under the section called capacity of land areas available for development within the municipal corporation. In mine, it's page 86, I'm not sure, it might be somewhere else. It's right above the chart that says available land inventory for infill development.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we have,
Yeah, that's gonna be, there seems to be, right after that, it seems to be an intro paragraph missing or something. It doesn't flow with the title. It just starts talking about the consent order was from MDE in 2013. I'm not sure if something was,
Carl, did you grab a packet from?
this is not there.
No.
Yeah, I'm just, I mean, I can get with John later or send Ralph or have someone send me the packet itself.
no, I have the original 2013 here, and it rolls right into in 2006.
Okay.
Yeah, no, but I see your point.
Reading it now, it just seems like something's missing. So Ralph has the original point, yes, it just seems to be. And also just, make sure throughout, when certain parcels of land are listed with the zoning, some things have changed since 2006.
Right.
So just make sure the, zoning's updated, particularly for the, Mount Airy Carnival Ground, the fire company that's, I think, zoned,
Right.
community commercial currently, and some other areas with that. And I'll get with John later, I just wanted to tell you that I did have some comments and other things that can be, I'll make sure I have the most recent. And I'll grab the packet from now on as I walk in, I was expecting it to be the same as the packet that was online, so.
We're doing a lot of work here.
I know, sorry, I wasn't the mic.
It's
but-
not turned on either, Carl.
No, okay, sorry, I wasn't, I'll make sure I'll pick up the correct packet. I just wanted to make sure that you're aware that I did have some changes and some wording and stuff. More just syntax and flow.
Carl,
Yes.
it's page 90 in my copy. I don't know what it is for you, but it shows the year projection 10 through 30.
Okay,
Low, a mid, and a high scenario of population.
yes.
And I'm interested in general in your overview and your reaction to those totals.
I believe that's within acceptable limits to me. I mean, it is based on 3 different unit, low, mid, and high. Nothing has changed. The high is based on, it looks like, what is allowable via code on the number of permits that could be approved. So that would be the worst-case scenario moving forward with the number of permits. I could be incorrect.
Well, I'm just saying that
Yeah.
number of permits is per development
Yeah.
project.
So if
So
we're,
the numbers are kind of maybe on the lower end. If we have multiple projects, each project could have up to 25 building permits per year.
Yeah.
So that number is,
I mean, we already have a density issue that
yeah.
we have to grapple with.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm totally aware of
That's a
that.
big issue here.
Yeah. So the slower the growth, the slower we add units is better. Also, just a word, I'm not sure, I know you all follow the auxiliary dwelling unit task force like I do. Just an FYI, that Department of Planning does have its own website for that task force. And once there's something's held, it does have links up to the meetings and minutes and video links and everything else. So.
On that same page 90, if I could draw your attention to line 2268.
A good deal of future growth?
Right, so
Okay.
due to current severe restrictions on groundwater appropriations, current operation of the wastewater treatment facility at 82% capacity, and our schools approaching 110% of capacity, the low scenario of 15 residential units per year is most likely to occur over the next 5 years. So that's another thrust statement, but it's based upon adequate public facilities restrictions.
Yeah,
namely,
I have that marked in there, not exactly sure of the page, but I would also advise to make sure those numbers are still correct.
right.
Particularly for the 110% school capacity. And the wastewater treatment capacity too, I think. And also the water capacity, I'm pretty confident that we still are limited.
Yeah, that's a very good point. And the 110% is based upon the current efforts with Green Tree APFO scrub with the county.
Yeah.
The county schools, correct me if I'm wrong, John, doesn't feel that the school capacity, the threshold for the county to believe the schools are approaching inadequate is 110%.
Maybe, I'm not,
Yep, it is, it is. Yeah, and so we have already got, for that particular concept plan, APFO scrub, we've already got one of the schools in a window of time deemed by the county
Yeah.
as approaching inadequate.
yes.
So that means it's at 110 at that time frame.
Yeah.
So that's what I mean by using 110 as
Okay.
as that standard.
Well, I just want to make sure that people are aware, I mean, if it's, we might want to clarify, is it one school, any school approaching the 110%, or every school? So it might, that can remove the, I want to say, I can't pronounce the word, the uncertain of what school you're talking about. Are you talking about all three of them? If any school approaching that serves the Mount Airy would, approaching 110%, because unfortunately, say if it's not an elementary school, and most of the developer can say, well, we're just going to, cater to a young family that's going to move in without elementary school age kids. The kids are going to come later. By that time, that school that might be holding up development could be underneath the capacity.
Yeah, and again, all I was trying to do was get to the bottom line of that sentence was, we predict the low growth
Okay,
projection of the three.
moving
growth.
forward.
Yeah, the
Bec-
low growth, and the low growth based predominantly on adequate public facilities assessments.
Okay, gotcha.
In particular, again, I led up to it, but in particular, our schools are going to be limited, our water's going to be limited, and our wastewater treatment is going
Yeah.
to be limited.
This is-
Right there, you got 3 of the 7.
Yeah, oh yeah, and as I said, it just might be the wording changes, updating the wording. And one other thing in here regarding the Mount Airy Volunteer Fire, I would put in that the county is taking over, transitioning the volunteers to paid companies. And Mount Airy is one of them, and they already have taken place of paying some of the staff and making sure there's full staff there at the volunteer fire company and some, maybe the EMS side or something. So that needs to be put in there because it's currently written like that, and the town provides them money. So I would make sure that all those statements are correct.
It's not practical to support a volunteer
And on that,
any longer.
yeah, and on that, as far as the end of that statement saying we're going to limit ourselves to 15 residential units per year, that goes back to our earlier discussion, John, about are we going to maintain a limit on dwelling unit permits? And I think we are currently at no more than, what's so many per year per project?
Right, it's 24
24.
per project per
Okay.
year, per calendar year. And I would also caution, because it says, and, 82% capacity, and there are schools approaching 110%. Well, that's one school on the Carroll County side. So I'm not sure if that's a good statement, because
That's fine.
we're divided by 2 different school districts.
Gotcha.
And so I'm not sure.
What I'll do is I'll
How are you-
rewrite that lead in to say, due to limitations on adequate public facilities, we foresee the low density, or the low projection, low scenario, I'm sorry. Would that be a better, broader statement?
Yeah, I don't know, I'm not sure how to convey that, we have one school that's potentially approaching inadequate with the Green Tree
No, I'll just say in general,
in general, okay.
general APFO or,
You have different situations with the 2 school districts too.
And with,
Right, because Frederick County
yeah.
can't.
Right.
And one other comment under the Parks and Rec section, maybe
The page, Carl.
I got like page 103, 104, 105. It's under the, I want to say, the Park and Recreation section of the thing, since my page numbers are a little bit off. I'll just say, like, plans for future park facilities. It discusses the Mount Airy Sports Complex and all those other things, and community facilities and things of that nature. You might want to consider taking out the individual things and maybe just put a more broad statement on, like seeking any annexed property into towns, AKA like the Harrison-Lashire, we plan to have some type of park there that could provide both active and passive recreational opportunities. Also for any potential related, I want to say, improvements to public facilities, AKA a library or a newer senior center there on that property, if it's annexed into town, because the county owns all of it. And the county provides the town with, schools, the parks, and everything else. So more of a blanket statement. Also start indicating that we're looking for those type of facilities to be included into any type of plan for that property that even the county presents. Because if it's on our map listed as a public facility, it works in our favor when we're doing some calculations later on the property regarding open space and things of that nature, is my understanding. So it's good to have it in a plan somewhere that we can point to, because just say it's not annexed into the town, the county sets their own plan, we can at least point, hey, we have this, at least these facilities in our master plan. Can you at least take these into consideration for your plans?
There's a model for that. It's the park on 144.
Yeah, the Frederick County one, yeah. And it's better to mention it than not to mention it.
Yeah, to use a term by a fellow commissioner, that section on Parks and Recreation, which goes for like the next 4 pages, is really not so much our domain
Yeah.
as it may ought to be best written by the Parks and Rec Commission.
Yeah.
And so, but certainly one of us or I can go over to the commission and kind of give them the contours around that paragraph.
Yeah.
What the MGE is trying to do, but let them focus on, because it gets into the future parks,
Yeah.
and so
Yeah.
I wouldn't be so bold as to read their minds at this point.
No, I just said in 2003 or 2010 when this was written, it might have been a little bit different of what we wanted. I'm not saying, sports complex, sports fields is still needed, but as said earlier, you don't want to tie yourself down with wording. It's more of a general statement can work in our favor too for both everything.
This will be part of the outreach that we make to each of the commissions.
Yeah.
There'll be some of this kind of setup that we give them and say to them, here are the areas we need your input and your tailoring.
Yeah, that's all I'm saying. It's just more general comments, and I'll get the most recent update with the versions and give John my other little syntax errors. Yeah, I'm done there. What did I mess up with now?
Just a technical comment on the table on page 92. The Carroll County doesn't provide land use designations for any property in the municipal growth area. So that column under adopted county should be removed. I believe it was there from the environs plan in 2006. Which line? It's the table.
On page 92.
Yeah. So under the comprehensive land use plan designation, adopted, and then the county column, that should be removed.
That whole column.
Yes.
Okay.
I believe that was taken from the 2006 environs plan that the county did. And I believe there's some other kind of areas where it's mentioned.
Your environs plan is mentioned?
I have my marked up.
Okay.
Justin, does the Frederick County future annexation areas coexist with the plans for Frederick County, since we're talking about these tables? And what their adopted plans are on page 93?
And then just specifically under the Lashir property on B,
Right.
the last line says the county has designated this property with an employment campus. I would strike that because, like I said, we don't designate any property in the municipal growth areas.
You talking about the asterisks in the footnote?
No, it's after the table, under future annexation areas.
Let's share.
Line 2377. Oh, wait. The town, yeah, sorry. I was looking at the one that was posted on the website. And then I would just say the full property should be removed because that was already annexed this past year.
Is 2360 still the Lashir property? It says,
Oh, yeah,
county has
yeah,
designated the property with an employment campus land use designation?
yeah, that should be removed.
Okay.
Whole thing.
Thank you.
Yeah, this year. Yep.
So are we taking out 2371 from Carroll County receives recently purchased this outline? Are we taking that out all the way down?
Well, Carroll County didn't, it came back in the ownership of the Board of County Commissioners, so maybe just update it because it was originally the IDA.
Oh, right, right.
I mean, I still think we want to leave them in as a future annexation. I mean,
Yeah, definitely that. I was just saying that the county has a land use designation for it. Should be removed because that's incorrect.
And it came back into ownership of who now? Sorry.
It's owned by the Carroll County Commissioners right now.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. And then just going down on that page, 2392, the full property should be removed because that's already been annexed.
Delete E.
Deleting, okay. Bless you.
I think that's about all I saw. Yep. That's it for me.
Okay, thank you.
Justin, in accordance with that graph that's on page I just asked you about,
Who you talk to, Hannah or Justin?
Justin.
did I say Justin?
Yes, you did.
I didn't hear that, sorry.
Justin.
What was the,
Frederick County future annexation areas. Page 93,
yep.
Justin? And then page 95. Was it 95 or 96? 96. Frederick County annexation areas, 2440. Can you give us an overview on that stuff?
Because hasn't Wriggler
Craft
changed?
property, the regular property, South Main Street area.
I could look into the others, but I know for the regular one, that was the one that was, it's listed as, I think, well, hold on, what page is it?
It's,
that one currently,
yeah, regular's changed a lot.
Yeah, that one's like 3 lots now versus 24 or whatever it was on.
Still low-density residential over there?
currently, like saying that, yes, currently there's a plan that was approved through Frederick County for 4 lots. 3 lots and a remainder. Again, there was, currently that's the path it's on. So, there was communications of possibly trying to go back through a re-annexation possibly. So, currently I would like to leave it in there until we get closer to the final process and figure out, do they actually put a house on it and develop it, the way it is? Because there is a plan, doesn't mean that's what it's going to be.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm just wondering if it should stay in or it should be changed.
Because
I
it
think we
says
want to leave it in
it's-
here currently, you know, and we'll circle back to that when we get closer to the completion of this project, of the master plan,
Yeah, because it says it's currently zoned for agricultural use,
which is what it's zoned in Frederick County, correct?
even if there are houses going?
Even with the houses. I live on a 7-acre parcel. And
Oh.
it's zoned agricultural,
Okay,
but has a house on it.
Oh.
So that's normal within the county.
okay.
And I did look at that project on our IPS system, and it's still, reviews were due, I think, the 21st, and it said resubmit. So I think there was something with the health district, that there was some sort of problem with it. But I know the forest, the FRO did pass, so it's one step closer to being approved, but it still is going through the hurdles of what it currently was going through.
And I don't know if any of the commission has driven out Prospect Road and seen it.
Yeah.
But it's
Yeah.
definitely changed from what it is.
Oh, my
And it's
gosh,
changed for the better, in my opinion, especially if you pull into the development and pull back out. You can clearly see left and right.
Yes,
And they put the entrance in the correct location for whatever is going to go there. You know, be it the 3 lots with the remainder or whatever. Even if it were to be annexed into the town currently, the location for the entrance to whatever is there is in the right location.
The slope has been significantly reduced.
Yep, it looks good.
What about the Craft Farm K on page 93?
Yeah, I could look into those and have information for the next meeting on those two.
That'd be great.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Super.
And again, I still think we should keep that in because that's a large portion that's bordering our corporate limits.
Gotcha.
It could be good to keep in there, even though they don't want to sell to us, but, you know, or get it annexed, we should leave it in.
Yeah, so Justin, we welcome any edits in the near term, but as John said, ultimately, the whole package is gonna go to the county reviews, and that'll be kind of your, you know, to use an auctioneer's term, last and final, to get it right. And so, but if you can give us something near term, that'd be awesome to put it in now, so.
And when will we know about the fire department? Does it say in here that they're gonna go professional? Hang on, I just saw
It's a
it.
slow process,
It's a
and
ve-
again,
oh.
it's only for the EMS currently, is my understanding.
Okay.
So you're looking at putting something in the public safety section?
Yeah, I'm just wondering
Which
because it
page?
seems like it's gonna change,
Oh, I like that, yeah.
but we should at least make mention that the future changes are coming to make it
Paid
not
fi-
volunteer.
Paid fire EMS services.
Plus, especially if growth's gonna keep happening around us,
Right.
then Frederick's gonna have to pay more attention to that to meet the needs.
So I'm gonna make a note of that and just see if there's anything online that shows kind of the, I don't know what, transition plan?
Does Frederick County ever give updates about that? Does anybody know? Their future plans for fire and EMS and everything, have they ever, like, on their website? I'm just wondering if there's like a link we can just look at or something.
Yeah, I mean, that's in Carroll County, so I'm not sure, what our closest fire department, I guess it'd be Newmarket, I would think,
Okay.
on the Frederick County side. But I don't know.
And the new one they're gonna build,
Oh, where's that?
144 and Bartholow's Road intersection,
What page
This is Frederick County?
2398. Other capital facilities such as schools and libraries are planned by both Frederick and Carroll counties to serve the town of Mount Airy. Currently, Frederick County has a new regional fire station planned for the New Market, Mount Airy area located near the Maryland 144 Road intersection.
I mentioned that to Judge, I think I heard, something else that the planning commission should look into, because I believe I've heard or read something that something might have changed on that. I'm not exactly sure what,
Okay.
so
So we
that's
need to
something
Put a
that,
question mark on that?
yeah, I
right
would,
there?
yeah, I would, just to make sure that's updated correctly. And just one other more syntax or edit suggestion. I've noticed a couple things in here where like to be put in, like dates and things of that nature. And all it is just bold black text. I would put that in like red, yellow, or something else, just so you know to put it in there. And it needs to be changed because chances are maybe if you're just scanning over, oh, you see that you're looking for things to, a specific color to change. And if it's the same color as the corresponding wording, it could be easily missed. So,
you're saying to change the edited text color?
no, there's a couple spots in here, like, I can't think of, maybe this one, it's like, was decided in year XXXX. But it's all just bold black, the same color as the existing text. So maybe just put something in there as a reminder that those X's need to be changed to a hard date.
Okay.
More so, because it has happened before. I know I've done it, and so we all have done it. We just put a placeholder, same color. Oh, it's been taken care of. You just,
Right?
Please,
We have 6 people looking at it and nobody sees it.
yeah, but somebody might and might not. I mean, sometimes.
Back will see it.
Yeah, I hope so. Just, that's it. Thank you.
I had forgotten about Joe.
He's always there.
Hey, Barney, on page 102, 2644, there's a section about water and sewerage facilities. And it's pretty much untouched. I'm trying to remember the puts and takes that you and Julianne sent me. I don't show any of that changing. So there's about 4 or 5 paragraphs addressing water and wastewater. So we don't need to go through edits here, but just if you could just take another look and make sure all that is still accurate.
Yeah, because again, I think where we talked about was facilities, chapter 7.
7, we're going to go
And-
into it, right?
Chapter 3 also mentioned some of these facilities. And when they start being in like 3 different places.
Natural
it's hard to keep
resources.
them all
I know.
accurate. That's why I think they should be in one place, like facilities on chapter 7, and not necessarily go into all the details in each of the other chapters.
That sounds good. Let's move it.
Can we reference it on that?
Yeah, see
And just
chapter
say, see
7.
Yeah.
chapter 7?
Right.
So what I'm hearing is let's pull the text and just have a line saying reference chapter 7 regarding.
For
We
stormwater.
haven't reviewed this chapter yet. So-
Okay.
So we can go through it
There
and
you go.
see what should.
Yeah,
come
let me
out.
know what you think, and if we want to shift it all out of here, I'm open to that. And then also, stormwater management is
Also,
in there as a town engineer domain. So if you see that also better addressed in chapter 7, or, because chapter 3 touches on it also. So there's pieces all over,
Same with open space.
and open space. Yeah.
if we should move all of it to be chapter 7 and just reference it if we need to.
We can.
So that, like you said, it needs to be all in one place, looking very clean.
I just like the idea of having it in one place,
Yeah.
so when you need to update it.
Oh, yeah.
You know where to go to update it.
I think
We
that's
run
a
the
good
risk
idea.
of having contradicting statements.
Yeah,
When we do a little bit here, here, and here. Okay, so
It's more straightforward, too, that
if,
way.
if you can look at that, and if that's kind of your inclination, we can then pull it out of chapter 5 here.
We would entertain your recommendation.
I'll second that.
Yeah.
To move to this, if it's in the municipal growth plan to talk about stormwater and sewage, I think it should probably go in the
I agree.
chapter 7 and
Yeah.
not be in this part.
I think everything water sewer needs to be grouped into one.
And I think,
And just one line saying, for information about
Please
this,
reference
chapter 7. Yeah.
page,
take it
whatever.
out altogether, not have to put a footnote in there and just say, chapter
Right,
7.
you'll find it when you get to chapter 7.
Yeah, that's fine too. We could take it all out.
Joe finishes all 6 of his beers before chapter 7, he'll stop right there. Right?
I like it. And we've talked about Parks and Recreation. I'm on page 104. Parks and Recreation being, you got your comments, Carl, but I think maybe the heavy lifting on this comes out of the Parks and Rec guys. Like Bill said, we do an outreach. They own that section. And we rely on them to get it
When will
right.
they be relied on to get that back to us?
So
Can we say January? I mean, when are we?
chapter 5 goes,
Well, it's also a question of looking at what their meetings are between now and then.
Do we say February? When is, hold on, March,
Well, our schedule states that it's going to be going to
February?
economic, well, it says Economic Development Commission, but we should also put,
Parks and Rec.
Chapter 5's on the Parks and Rec. as
Yeah,
well.
so the time frame that we have chapter 5 going to these other commissions is from December 11th to January 31st for them to review it and chop it back to us.
Okay.
Which might move to December 14th if we move, or whatever, the
And so
15th.
that was our projected window to
Sure.
give them time.
Sure.
Yeah.
So let's add on that, send off the Parks and Rec, like you said, and then we'll adjust the date. And I don't mean to do,
Maybe the 18th or something like that, Monday, the 18th.
yeah. So while we're talking about send-off, the cover letter to Water and Sewer Commission on Chapter 3, Natural Resources,
Yep.
we were going to try to get that out sometime.
Well, it said November 13th, but, we clearly missed that. But like you're saying, I think as soon as possible, we should try
Gotcha.
to
Gotcha.
get that out to them, hopefully maybe this week or
Yeah.
Yeah,
beginning
if we
next week.
can. And if,
Well, and let's get together and plan it out and
Nice.
yeah, and if
identify everything we need to do.
And if one of us, I think we're willing to walk it into their hands,
Yep.
Well, I think that's our role,
I think emailing it and then also showing up to their
Yep.
meeting as
their
well.
meetings.
Yeah, just let Dick know, we'll,
Yep, and I'll make
The once
additional
over.
copies and whatever so they can.
sounds good.
Okay.
That's all.
So I think that takes us,
Well,
that
so-
takes us home, and I'll say, you didn't see any drafted objectives or implementing strategies at the end of the municipal growth element, simply because there wasn't any in the 2013 version. Now, that doesn't say that we can't put some in that are aligned to our strategic town goals. But again, I was just looking at the model that we had from 2013. So that's just another thing to think about. If there are things, so let me summarize. If Chapter 5 speaks to you as there are, let's go do this kind of things, then we can capture those as objectives and add them in at the next session, so. But presently, you don't see them at the end of Chapter 5, so,
Okay.
yeah. Did you understand?
Sorry, I lost you for a minute. I'm stuck on the rails to trails. Do we need to update that?
Oh, that would be
That would be
park,
Parks
right?
and Recs.
Is that
Yeah.
Parks and Rec?
Yes.
Yep.
So the rest is Park and Rec?
Yeah, pretty
Yes.
much, it looks like.
Okay, okay.
Well, so the chart, the anticipated financing mechanisms, 2805 on page 107, it looks, are we going to keep this in? Are we going to get input? Because it's talking about water treatment, and we were just saying we should move all that to chapter 7.
Well, again, Barney, kind of in your,
Take a look at it.
yeah,
Okay.
if you'll,
That makes sense.
yeah.
Okay.
Because that's getting down into some numbers,
Yeah.
you know?
2805?
Right.
That
Yeah.
graph there?
Yeah,
The numbers haven't changed.
yeah.
Are you sure?
That's the
I
only,
can tell it has, and I'm just looking at it.
What it does is it talks about then the capital investments program, the CIP. Now, I'll admit to being a dummy here. Does the town have a CIP that, other than the budget, does the town have a CIP that guides budgetary decision-making?
Yes.
It does.
Yeah. Yeah, we update, it's a basic level, it's not, real in-depth, but
Okay.
it summarizes basically, the majority of our facilities.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Again,
It's just like a overall cursory look at it.
okay.
Is it a spreadsheet,
Multiple spreadsheets, yes.
multiple spreadsheets?
So look at that beginning 2805, anticipated growth, and the balance sheet that is portrayed. Okay. And I think that's it. That
Okay.
finishes it out, and we'll get together and make another cut at it on the next day.
Sorry?
And so, that's it.
Okay.
I think, so this,
You already said.
Are you sure you're done with it? I mean,
so this was a full plate, 3 sections.
Yeah.
And I don't think we'll ever do this again. The good news is when we do get together, it's just chapters 4 and 5.
Right. Well, I think it was a good use of time, because again, I think helps us hopefully stay on track on our schedule, and again, we were sort of falling behind already, I feel like, and.
it was helpful to have, Hannah and Justin
Justin
here
here, yeah.
to answer some questions,
was-
because
And they probably left because they didn't want any more questions. I'm not sure.
They
They're like,
ran
oh, it's
for
quarter
it.
of 10, we're out of here,
John?
possibly.
John, one of the things that would be helpful, either you or your assistant, is to identify the schedule of the meeting days and
Actually
times.
put that down already, because I was
for
thinking,
each of the
right,
commissions.
which commissions, when they're meeting,
That's huge for us to know in advance.
exactly. That was one of the notes I wrote to myself,
We can
because
go
I was
ahead and
like,
approach 'em.
want to make sure that we're hitting those meetings whenever they are coming up in the next month or two.
Yep.
Rec still meet virtually, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
But I can still email them and also deliver, packets to them some way or another.
Do we want to see if we could speak or somebody speak on that?
That's
Yeah,
the
for you guys.
plan.
Okay.
That's the plan. Yeah.
get them,
Once we know for sure when they're meeting and we talk to them and confirm it, then one of us will be there to lay out what we want to ask their help with.
Well, if Chairman is acceptable, I'll move on to number 7.
Yep.
So, again, we have a draft agenda sort of for the Mount Airy Crossing public joint work session.
Yeah.
Again, this hasn't been forwarded to town council for review yet. This is just initially review from you guys. If you see anything or concerns, before we send it to town council for their review and approval, and before posting, now's the opportunity to speak about that.
Okay. I don't think I got that.
It should have been seated right at your desk before you sat down,
It's right underneath where you're at right now.
right underneath everything.
It's in here?
Yep.
Okay.
Right
Yeah, yeah, there's one there.
Steve, do you need one of these?
Is it under your blue folder, maybe?
Here's some.
It's just,
I don't think so.
yeah, I think because it's on the agenda, we can
got it.
talk about it, right? So I think that's a great opportunity. We still have adequate time. Hopefully, we can get through it
Bless you.
quickly.
Yeah, so again,
Oh.
I'm just trying to move the ball toward
I
the
need that.
January 16th joint session. Just to make sure that everybody, roughly 15, 16 deserving people need to be able to interact with the applicant and with the town staff on the pre-concept plan. So we're talking about the 5 council members, we're talking about the mayor, we're talking about the town engineer, we're talking about the zoning, and so yada, 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 and then the 7 of us, right? So if you take roughly from 7 to 9:30, because I think that was the target the council wanted to kind of keep us on.
Right.
When you start allocating those 15 folks having a dedicated time to focus their hot buttons on, you can eat up a lot of time. And so, again, this is just a proposal, but what I wanted to do was say, let's lead off in a manner where maybe the mayor is the kind of neutral, because this is a council and commission workshop. So let the mayor make the introduction and the welcome to everybody there. This is not a public interaction, by the way. They are not to speak, nor should they be allowed to speak, if I can be kind of even harsher, right? So this is an interaction between the town, the council, the commission, and the applicant, right? And so basically, the mayor will make a welcome, kind of say, where are we in the whole flow, just to make sure everybody's up to speed. And then we move into kind of, are there any changes since the public hearing, which was the last data point in the process. In September, we had the public hearing. And so there may have been, I don't know, John, you may know.
I have not received a modified plan from that.
Okay. So again, just kind of a say, hey, just to make sure we're all on the same page, is the pre-concept plan adjusted since the last time you had the process step, the public hearing? If the applicant says no, it's the same old pre-concept plan that was present at the public hearing, then my thought was give them the 20 minutes now to do an overview in case anybody needs to be refreshed. I would say 20 minutes is going to be tough for them, given how they've presented overviews in the past. But if I were them, I'd say 10 minutes, one speaker, don't shift speakers, but one speaker get up, 10 minutes east, 10 minutes west, sit down, shut up, right? That's your overview, that's your 20 minutes. And then move into basically the council, because the council ultimately is accountable to approving the pre-concept plan. It's on them. And so I gave them, what did I do? Seven? I gave them 7 minutes each, simply because the commission members, in comparison, you see later on 5 minutes, right? Because we've been interacting through the charrettes, we've been interacting through the public hearing. And you could argue with me that we all need to have the same time, and I can re-record the time slots. But I'm trying to give a little more time to the council members for the sole reason that they're ultimately accountable when they have to vote and decide on the pre-concept plan. And there's 5 of them. So it's not like there's 20 of them. So go ahead and give them a good section of time. And, you know, if they don't use it for that time slot, then any other council member that has another question beyond their 7 minutes, certainly chirp in, let the president of the council kind of, you know, arbitrage that, you know. But then after that, do I have a break? I think, yeah.
10 minutes.
10-minute break, everybody kind of, you know, hit the latrine, and then come back, and then let the mayor speak for, you know, 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Does that seem inordinate? Well, you know, the mayor's an elected official. He's accountable to what is going to unfold there. And I frankly don't recall the mayor having this ability to do a direct one-on-one with the applicant at any stage. So it may seem a bit rich for him to get 10 minutes, but let him.
We'll see how he feels about it.
Let him.
Maybe he doesn't need it.
If he wants to have 2-3 minutes, then, yeah.
And then we move into, what do I have, town staff? And so I have a 20-minute slot there for the town staff, and that encompasses any questions Barney wants for clarity, or John wants for clarity, and I have other there. I don't know, there could be another notable town staff person that has, you know.
Could be the town administrator.
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
Yep.
I don't think Tom McCarron would have.
I doubt it. I doubt he'll be there for that.
Yeah.
Probably
But,
not.
but 20 minutes for those people, because they're key in the concept plan. And then we move into us. And again, because of the previous interactions and kind of the ongoing charrette involvement and Q&A, and we've gotten the overview now, I don't know how many times.
And we know what a charrette is.
Yeah?
You know what a charrette is.
So I kind of, and kind of go to Heather's point, yeah, it does look like I kind of cheated us. But the other point is, by that time in the evening, maybe some of our questions have
Will
already
have been
been hit.
Yeah.
So that was actually one of the questions I had is, did anyone record notes from the public hearing, like all of the questions that the public asked during the public hearing?
I wrote as fast as I could. I don't know if I have all of them, but I was trying to write every single, and we recorded it too, didn't we?
I mean, I was just thinking that collectively, we should put those together.
Yeah.
And those
That
should
would,
just be,
that would be useful, because
yeah.
there was a lot of great feedback, and they really appreciated how we
I thought it
handled
was.
that and let them speak to it.
Back to the recording.
And they're going to be looking for us to ask those questions in this workshop. So I just think a coordinated approach rather than you know, all of us coming in, if we all took the same notes at the meeting,
Yep.
it might be better to go in coordinated, and it might save time as well.
Well, and we'd all be on the same page, yeah.
A lot of them were repetitive too.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah. They were.
Maybe just have general topics under the questions, like as Commissioner Bynum was saying, a lot of them were repetitive.
Yeah.
So maybe like, you know, if there's a lot of.
about the APFO, talk about.
Yeah, we could do themes and,
Themes or something of that nature instead of each individual, because it's repetitive, like themes of the lot sizes, the density, the amount of open space and things of that
there was a fair
nature.
amount of repetition when you do it
Yeah.
that way.
The other thing we saw in the previous workshop was everyone at the table kind of had different opinions, and it was very confusing for, I think, for the developer. Because it's like, well, who am I supposed to listen to
Yeah.
with your opinions? And I guess that's okay, but, you know, it's just something to think about.
Yeah, no, I'll take that into advisement. It's like I was mentioned to Commissioner Gant on the side, it's like this approach would probably be well looked upon, at least by me, because it can be a productive meeting instead of, you said, everybody else has different approaches and thoughts, and I'm hoping that everybody, both the council and the planning commission, can come up with like the general thoughts, the general questions, have the same themes and things of that. So I'm hoping that if you all agree upon that, that this can make it on the the meeting next week for us to at least be introduced to it or look at it and review it. And Councilman Evans might have to put a question to the president to.
Not sure if we might have missed the window to get on the agenda. So,
Well, let's try. Let's see if we can. Okay.
Yeah, and then it wraps up after the commissioners are done with, again, I chose the president of the council to kind of do a wrap-up. And what I envision the wrap-up to be is a summary of any due-outs from the applicant. So in other words, I'll have to get back to you kind of answers, you know, during the course of the evening. Let me take a look at that kind of answer. You know, those are the things that I fully expect the applicant to say when someone says, hey, can you lower the density, just as an example? And the answer would not be a yes or no. It'll be, I'll have to take a look at that. And so that would be something we would record in the course of the evening as a due-out that we expect. And then, of course, at the very bottom, as you can see, is this the last workshop? Or, yeah. And so I kind of leave that open-ended because the council president would probably be the proper one, unless someone wants to steer it differently, to say, I propose that we need more time on this. Let's set a second one. I think in the previous Beck joint hearing, I think we went 2 times anyway, as a historical reference. So I think it's fair to say that we would likely do that. And again, we can then construct the agenda for that second session that's focused on those due-outs, right? So we kind of narrow down what are the gives and takes that we really see as a priority from this plan and how it should change if it gets a favorable council consideration. So that's kind of what I'm laying out.
Okay.
That's a long answer to saying, why 7, why 10?
Oh, no. No,
Sorry.
another,
We're 10 after here
Oh.
already. So let's move on to Jason's council liaison report.
Can I ask a quick question? If prior to the workshop, is the developer going to need to make changes to their plan? And should they make those prior to the workshop and some, you know?
that was one of my things here, is I'm gonna reach out to them tomorrow and find out. Are they modifying the plan, or are they just gonna keep what they have for that public hearing?
Well, that would be huge for us to know.
Right, because if they're not,
Change it.
They've already gotten a lot of feedback, and they, from the, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a priority to find that out.
Well, again, we need to know because, you know, I need to be able to receive that revised plan and forward it to all the
Right.
items, and also still sign everything and.
well, and if they're going to change it, is it worthwhile to have this whole production if we're not going to have the changes before?
We don't need to waste everybody's time if that's not.
Yeah, should we
To
post,
quote.
yeah, just a thought. If they're going to
I'm
make
gonna reach out
changes,
to
is
them
this
tomorrow and
yeah.
find out.
Okay. Jason?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So we had the public hearing section of the day for both ordinances that were being looked at, 2023-32 and 2023-39. And there was very, very little citizens' participation. I think you guys were there, so you know. Not sure how we can get better marketing out to the public, or if we can, or if they just weren't interested at all in the two topics. New appointments, we had Michael Dixon was reappointed unanimously to the Recycling and Sanitation Commission. New business, we have a brand-new chief. Lieutenant Ginevra was promoted to chief by a vote of 5-0. January 8th is the town council meeting for January, not January 1st, obviously because of the holiday. And as we've been talking, our joint session workshop will be January 16th at the American Legion. The LDG land acquisition was approved 5-0 for the remediation of PFAS, and the engineering, the design engineering was given to RK&K by a vote of 5-0 for the remediation with the grants already received for Station 1 and 3. The ordinances, 2023-32 in regards to MXD open space revisions was approved 4-1, and 2023-39 in regards to cannabis, vape shops, and cannabis-related businesses, and enacting the zoning changes for those was approved 5-0. And that was it for the night. It's a nice, short night.
Okay. Any comments or follow-up with Jason? Okay. All right.
Yep, the zoning administrator report, I don't know if anybody has any questions about that. Then
Not unless there's something we're not aware of that,
once again, Bill?
not unless there's something we're not aware of that.
No, I mean, it's the normal permits and et
Yep.
cetera that go through. And again, we're gonna look, I'm gonna look to see if December 17th or 14th is an available date we can possibly meet on.
Do you want to take a poll if everybody's available, just so you have that information?
Sure.
I mean, I'll be in town.
Yeah. Anyone, any of you not going to be in town?
I'm
As far as you know?
Just makes it easier, I'm done.
Yeah.
What you, Brian?
I'm good.
You're good.
14th?
Okay.
Yes.
Thursday.
Yep, that works.
Put it on my calendar.
Works for me.
7:30?
Yep.
Okay. All right. Our next master plan work session, date December 7,
December 14th?
14th.
14th, excuse me. Okay. And our next planning commission meeting, January 29th, still? Okay. And so that allows us to move next to our election of planning commission chair and vice chair. And I would like to go ahead in terms of commission chair and nominate Mr. Ralph Gint for that position.
I'll accept the nomination.
Okay?
We vote separately.
I think, well, you'd have to get, I don't know if you need a second on
I'll
that.
second if somebody needs a
I would,
second.
I would just second it.
Just to be careful, sure.
Right, and then we would just take a vote.
All right. All in favor of Ralph as the next planning commission chair?
Aye.
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 All right.
It's unanimous? Awesome.
They were all paid very well. Okay, before we get into the vice commission chair, I want to say that I continue to be extremely impressed with the capability and the capacity of this group of planning commissioners. I think you have a tremendous amount of capability. I think you're absolutely on the ball. And I think over time, it's incumbent upon the leadership of this group to develop you to the extent we can. And I would urge you to start to get involved and take a look at other groups, whether it's Strong Towns or it's MPCA. the opportunity to rub elbows with other planning commissions in other communities, some of which have some of the same challenges, others which have different ones, that's huge. That's a huge and valuable perspective to bring back. And I urge you to look into those opportunities, okay? And having said that, I'm going to ask your new Planning Commission chair to open bids for vice chair. And I'll say to you right now, I think my role is in development of planning commissioners. I don't think it's necessarily, it's chair for the extent of time that it needed to be. Ralph is ready, and we know he's ready, okay? I think the same is true in terms of the readiness of almost any of you to move into one of those capacities down the road. And it's going to be part of my role, in part in working with your new chair to identify those opportunities when you feel you're ready for it. Ralph, why don't you open up vice chair?
With that, I'd like to nominate Martina Hatley as the vice chair of the commission. And is there a second?
I'll second.
I'll accept.
All right. All those in favor of Martina for vice chair, let me know by saying aye.
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 Excellent. All right, it's done. Okay.
Congratulations.
Now, we're going to hold you two accountable, you understand? We're going to be watching.
Well, the pay raise is great.
Feels good, doesn't it?
All right, folks. All righty.
It's a ramp.
I think we're ready to wrap it up. All right. With nothing else on the docket, unless somebody has something, this meeting of the Planning Commission is adjourned.